TikTok. TikTok.
Hey, y'all, gravity. Any evening above ground, live it. Elon Musk is a straight fraud. A straight fraud. He's setting up here talking about, oh, I got Trump. We gonna make sure that the space works. And this is the result. That's the result. And all the white supremacists on Rumble are seeing the same thing I'm saying. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. You were better off using a video stream. Your man is selling this app after the election. I said it. Dumbass. And then when we say something, we're the crazy ones. Look, let's hear the crash outs.
I don't know if you saw this. Listen to the press.
Look, he crashing out. Look, he's so upset. He's so upset. He has to actually engage his crowd.
Look. God knows. Only God knows. But we are here, ladies and gentlemen. We are here just waiting.
See, look. Look. This is who they say is going to save the nation.
A bunch of
look. They actually have to engage their crowd.
The host said, "Great, now reinstate ALX."
Look at them. They have to engage their crowd, and they can't say nothing. Woo! But remember, these were the same folk defending Elon and his what they call it? His attention to free speech. What? What? Okay. Listen, Brother Torian, they're going to pull on November 5th, they're going to try to live stream the results. And when he loses, the whole app is going to crash. Remember, they said, hey, there was a report that came out today that they were asking the Biden administration to censor this interview. Yeah, but wasn't the other side the same one that said that they should be kicked off the internet? Oops, but you know, we can't talk like that. We can't talk like that. This is them. This is MAGA doing everything half-assed. The hell is Cannon Hotep talking about? Trump literally broke the
I'm trying to
internet.
get in, HJ.
What?
Can't nobody get in this bitch. Like, I'm even trying to grift off of somebody else's grift. And it just
trying to grift
working.
off the grift so we can
Like,
grift off
it
the
ain't working
grift.
at all.
That's what we talking about.
Trump literally broke the internet, like Steph just said. Trump literally broke the internet, yeah.
We will have.
You know, watch this. I'm all right. Elon
I'm looking at
broke
the quartering.
his own app.
He can't get
Because
in
he's a
enough.
failure.
The service can't handle it. You know how many people on X right now? Motherfuckers made accounts. People made accounts just to watch this. Like, understand that.
By the way, Trump
You
is
got
coming
the
back
quartering
to
up.
X.
You got the quartering up, Benny Johnson up. You got what's his face up?
That
Tate,
man
Andrew
said
And
Tate.
nobody can see the nobody can see
I'm
the space.
making sure that everything works for the interview
And nobody
tomorrow.
can see the space.
Okay, dude.
Nobody can see it.
Nope.
Okay,
Nothing's coming
dude.
up.
How'd that work?
That's the thing. Nothing's coming up. Everybody's trying to grift off of this. And nothing's
see
coming
Ken
up.
Hotep
They,
gonna
they
play
all
my-
jacked up.
my,
What up, kid? Kid Gravity in the
there it
building.
is.
Elon broke his own app because he's a failure.
Broke his own app. He's a straight failure.
Oh my gosh, yo. Yeah, all the
Oh,
spaces is
look,
glitching. I'm
look what I
looking
can
at
do.
The
Oh,
quarter, he
shit.
not up. Benny Johnson not up. Alex Jones ain't up. Luke,
Yeah, you got to griff off the
whatever
griff.
fuck,
No. See, you
Bukowski
guys are
ain't
not
up.
saying it correctly. Hold
Nobody's
on.
up.
Hold on.
Nobody-
You're not saying it correctly. You got to griff off the griff. That is the griff of the griff before the griff. So you can't griff off the griff before the griff after the griff. Because if you griff off the griff before the griff after the griff, then you're back at square griff. Doesn't work. But that's y'all's Elon Musk family. This is the guy that y'all said was look, the page don't even load. Look. Who mans is this? Who mans? Can't even get into through the Trump backdoor. Pause. Who mans is this? Oh man. So let me tell you something, because I don't know if this is even gonna work. So I'll tell you what I'll do. If this doesn't work, what we'll do is we'll react to Marc Lamont Shill and Uncle Hotep debating. We'll do that. Because I don't know how the hell them men worked for, they talked to each other for 4 hours. We ain't gonna react to the whole 4 hours. I ain't got that kind of time. Uncle Hotep walked up in there with all them degrees, and Uncle Hotep screwed around and got dusted. No, it's not that Twitter is shit, Rollo J. Good evening. It's not that it's shit. It's that man don't know what he's doing. Because this isn't the first time that the app crashed when he was trying to do interviews. Every time he hosts a space, it crashes. He don't know what he's doing. Look, it's still saying that. He's a bum. He's a welfare king. Look, they got all the scumbags outside to now. Look, cat crap is outside. I can't get into the Trump Elon interview. Says space not available. Anyone else? Look at him. This is a hell of a way to start the week. Boy, them lefties. Them lefties finna have a field day. I kicked myself out again. What I was saying. Failed. Let's see. She's live. Let's see. Let me go look. Because we got to see the readout. Oh, it's Jen Psaki? Never mind. Oh, maybe she was on already. Where's Joy Reid? Look, they're not even going to mention it. Well, ain't that something? Where's Joy Reid? Maybe she talked already. Full episodes will be here soon. Wait, she's off tonight? What? They gave her the night off? What? Maybe they told her to go in that room and listen. All right. Yes, I am. That's what I get for trying to be on Elon Musk Twitter, trying to hear this interview. Well, at least somebody got in. Maybe they went in early. Pause. Count is growing fast. It looked like they worked it out. They're working it out. Sure. Elon's sounding like a bore right now. Still frozen. Mm-hmm. Let's do it from the phone. Nope. Space is still not available. I guess you had to be in there early. Well, there's that. Y'all want to go listen to Uncle Hotep and we'll preempt it if something happens? I guess we should do that. And again, I am the king of pausing.
You know, let me go here. There's a growing concern.
It's already a problem. Look at Uncle Hotep. This might have to be a two-parter because there's a lot going on in there. It was a lot. I guess we could probably start it here. So yes, Uncle Hotep challenged Marc Lamont Schill to a debate. Let's see how long it is. You know, who page is this? Oh, that's the Hotep's pages. Now that's what we'll do. We'll use Marc Lamont shills. I forgot that them Hoteps had a whole show after that. That's why it was 4 hours. Okay. Let me see what them comments hitting on. Damn. They going in on Uncle Hotep. All right. Nasty work. All right, let's see. I'll keep checking that space to see if it starts, but we'll start. We'll react to this.
To my right, your left, we got Marc Lamont Hill. To my left, to your right. And today we are talking about Kamala Harris and her blackness. Now, I just have a little bit of history here. These two combatants here today, they have been, I would say, from my view, arch nemesis for over a decade now. These two have gone back and forth, at least from where I'm sitting. And this debate here was brought together by NerdNash. Shout out to NerdNash, nerdnash.com. And it came off of this tweet right here. I'm going to put the tweet on the screen right now. You guys should see it here. Marc Lamont Hill tweeted, "Nothing is more fascinating than watching Black Republican men like Byron Donalds questioning the racial identity of Kamala Harris. Dude has a white wife and biracial kids. Why is he comfortable identifying them as Black, but not Kamala Harris?" To which Uncle Hotep responded, "None of what you said makes Byron Donald not Black." Mark, did you see that tweet? Did you see that response?
I remember my tweet. I didn't see Uncle Hotep's response. He's probably not on my probably got muted or something because he bullies me online so much. I feel intimidated very often. I might file a report, but I think part of my frustration with Twitter is that Twitter often makes a spectacle of the quote tweet, and you drop the flying elbow on your opponent, and everybody on your side goes ooh. And they don't actually hear what I said. They spend so much time responding to what I didn't say. Like even what you just said, right? Uncle Hotep responded, "None of what you just said makes Byron Donaldson less Black," right? But if you read my tweet, what did I say? I said, I don't understand how he's comfortable doing what?
How he's comfortable. What'd you say,
No, I want the moderator to read it so we clear.
Yeah. Nothing more fascinating than watching Black Republican men like Byron Donalds questioning the racial identity of Kamala Harris. So he's questioning her racial identity. And you brought up...
No, what's the last part of what I said?
Why is he comfortable identifying them as Black, but not Kamala?
Yeah, identifying them as, who's them? His kids.
His kids. So
then he jumps in and says, none of that makes him less Black. So the reader would think that I was questioning Byron Donald's Blackness. And I never said a word about his Blackness. I said his kids. So again, it's a misrepresentation of the argument, right? It's like I'm saying, I'm saying Joel Embiid shouldn't play for U.S. 18 basketball. And he responds, "Well, I don't understand why." You know what I'm saying? Steph Curry shouldn't start. And I'm like, I agree. But his father's like, "You explain why Steph Curry don't start." I never said that about Steph Curry. I never said that about Byron Donald's Blackness. My point is, on Twitter, people are saying that someone is not Black.
We got breaking news, family. He's a clown. I'm not this. Elon Musk is the new welfare king. Brother Torian, I'm sorry. I got to steal that as a tether and give that to Elon Musk. I'm sorry, brother. Oh my God. No, you got to hear what I just heard.
Let me go here. There's a growing concern.
All right. What did Elon say? There appears to be a massive DDoS attack on X, working on shutting it down. Worst case, we will proceed with a smaller number of live listeners and post a conversation later. Okay, well.
He's a loser. The man is a loser. Oh my God. This is that Elon messed the stream up so he could try to negotiate with Trump so he could get back on X so he could boost the numbers. He don't want that part going out. Oh my God, he's a loser. A perpetual loser at life. Hello, Tori. What do you mean? Elaborate. I told y'all this was the whole plan. This was the whole plan. This is why Elon bought the app in the first place. He wanted to bring Trump back because he know the traffic was going to get there. People were going to come back to see what he said. Oh, okay. But we'll just go over the timeline. That's the only reason why he got this app. He wanted Trump back. But he forgot that Trump signed a contract with True Social saying that he can't go on any other sites for an extended period of time. He has to do it through True Social. It's funny as hell. This is sad. This is sad. Why couldn't y'all just get on a Zoom call, right? And just do a X video? But I guess you can't have Trump on an X video, right? What a loser. I'm sorry. He's a loser. Let's get back to this. I might as well change the title now. I'll do it when I'm finished. And when they get it situated, I'll just get it tomorrow. And I guess we'll react to it tomorrow. Or I'll just download. I'll just run it like I did the Myron Foodle, Amrud Foodle piece. I'll just do that. And just have it ride out in the morning. No. Let's see.
And we have to talk about what black means to different people, right? That people aren't black, especially Kamala Harris isn't black because of her biracial makeup.
She's not
right?
biracial.
Things that make her up. I'm saying then we got to do that for everybody.
Sir, she's not biracial.
Claims Jamaican ancestry.
Jamaican is not a race. Mark, you're a professor, sir. Jamaican is not a race. She's not biracial. Her daddy is a coolie. That's Indian. Irish is an ethnicity. We don't count that as race. There's no such race called Irish. Her mama is a white Brahmin Indian. She's still Indian. She's AAPI on both sides. Conversation done. I would respect it more if y'all just say y'all want an Indian American woman as president. I'd respect it. But y'all swear up and down she black and she not black. Y'all are basically family. Understand what you're seeing in real time. They are caping for a coon to be president. I thought they were the scourge of the earth. I thought y'all didn't like them. Wait a minute. Marc Lamont Hill, you be going in on you went in on Bucci Bear a couple months ago. He a coon. You don't like Candace Owens. She a coon. I'm sure you had a problem with what Brandon Tatum said concerning Sonia Massey. He's a coon. So it's okay to be loud about disliking them type of coons, but you literally got a coon in the White House right now, even though she's not black. But for all intents and purposes, y'all swear up and down she black, so we're going to play your game. Since y'all want to consider her black, she's a coon. Y'all want a coon as president. They want a coon as president. You want a Jamaican Indian coon as your president. Based on your metric. Cool.
He's got his kids got part Jamaican, half white, and whatever else is in the mix.
Oh God. Oh God. Jamaican does not mean black. Damn. Jamaican does not automatically mean black. So by that logic, then every Chinese person on the island of Jamaica is black. Every white person on the island of Jamaica is black now. Every coolie is black. These are the same group of people that tell us that they not black. Yes, Jamaicans say they Jamaican, they not black. So let me guess, Mark Lamont Hill, Lorna Chin is black. Tessanne Chin, the singer, and her sister are black. Her whole family's black. All right, sir. Damn.
I'm saying, well, if his kids could be black, then why the hell are we saying Kamala Harris isn't? I'm just saying apply the same standard. I personally don't care if people think Kamala Harris is black or not. To me, I don't support or not support somebody based purely on their blackness. But what I'm saying is, if the claims that she makes are correct, and she's told me this herself, right? That she has an Afro-Jamaican father. Not an Irish
He's
Jamaican
not
father, not an
Afro.
Indian Jamaican father. I know Judge Joe Brown said. I'm talking about what I heard her say with my own ears, right?
He ain't Afro.
If she has that, then she's no different than his kids or anybody else's kids. And I'm not coming at anybody's kids either. I'm saying I think his kids are black, and I think she's black. To me, black is so broad and vague.
You heard what you said?
Black is so
you heard
broad.
what you said. You think. So you're not even sure. You said, I think. We're confirmed. When she pulled up on the Breakfast Club and did that sorry ass interview, her father chastised her. They asked him point blank, is she a black Jamaican? He said, no, we're Jamaican. What? That should tell you everything. They don't get it.
And vague and ambiguous at times that it doesn't necessarily mean anything. For me, here in the United States, I include Jamaicans as black. Yeah, I include black Dominicans as black. Yeah, I include all these people as black. But they're not descendants of slavery.
What?
And so I include black Dominicans as black. Yeah, here in the United States, I include Jamaicans as black. Yeah, I include black Dominicans as black. Yeah, I include all these people as black. But they're not descendants of slavery. And so to me, it's like, well, when we start talking about reparations, when we start talking about what we deserve, when we start talking about our history and the culture of African Americans here, she ain't that. Kamala Harris ain't African American, but she is black. And black is global. African American is very specific. And for me, that means descendants of slavery. She's not that. I'm not claiming she's that. I'm just saying that a whole bunch of mixed race people are claiming they mix people and they mix babies and trying to deny hers. That was the only point I was making. And it was somewhat tongue in cheek, but I still think it's true.
Interesting. Uncle Hotep, how do you respond to all of that?
Well, I mean, it makes a point. You know, black can be a lot of things, but I know it's not Kamala. That's where I'm getting at. You know. Thanks, Mark, for coming on first and foremost. You know, I've long respected some of your views, especially some of your war views. I greatly respect that. I think we need more voices like yours on here with that. But as far as Kamala's blackness, it's like, you know, her mother raised her. You know, she does have a Afro-Jamaican father.
No, he
They split up.
doesn't. They're
Her
still
mother
running
primarily
with
raised.
this lie. When did he say he was black? Somebody, one of y'all can fact check me in real time. Go find me the article. Go find me the interview where this man said he's black. Please. Because if her blackness was called into question, you don't think they would have put that out already? It's been 5 years. This man's done interviews since the 80s. He should say that he's black. You should find it. There should be a interview structured interview. There should be a family video floating around somewhere. Somebody should know if he's ever said he was black.
Kamala. Her mother took Kamala to India every other year. Her mother named her after a Hindu deity. Kamala goes to Mindy Kaling and goes on the show and says we're both South Indian. You know, is she has some part black in her? Yes, of course she has to, right?
Oh, she's had some part black.
Is she culturally raised black or FBA or what? How would you want to
I know
define it?
about 30
Shut
million.
your to me, she was raised black. It wouldn't have been anything else. You know, and I think she conveniently shapeshifts depending on the audience. You know, when she speaks to Mindy, she brings up herself. She's Asian. She talks to Charlemagne and Marc. She's black. But not that it should be so important, but some people are just one-issue voters. Some people are just going to vote or no-issue voters. Some people are just going to vote, well, she's black, I'm just going to vote for her. You know what I mean? But to the people that are just going to vote for her because they think she is black, I think we need to define that. You know, I just don't understand where we're claiming her like that or want to claim her like that. You know, you know, back of 20, 30 years ago when me and Marc were younger, you know, you had a certain shade. Of course, we oh, you're black. You know what I mean? We claim anything. But nowadays, I mean, we have a certain degree ethnic pride is coming out with FBAs and ADOS and stuff like that. That sort of thing needs to be defined. That's what I gotta say.
So I disagree with a couple of things. Right? Like, so again, we often selectively pull evidence to support our claims, right? So we're looking at a Mindy Kaling interview that Kamala Harris did in the last 10 years, probably the last 5 years. Kamala Harris is 60, and I hope we can call her Kamala, not Kamala. Her name is Kamala. We should call her Kamala. She's 60, so she gave that at 55. We have far more evidence of her ensconced in Black culture, if that's the criterion.
Oh, good God, we're not doing this. We're not, Mark. We're not doing this. We're not doing this now because her proximity to Blackness makes her Black. Now we're not doing this. You're opening a dangerous precedent, sir. Don't do this. Because by that logic, Rachel Dolezal is Black, and you're not going to claim her as a Black woman. Don't do that. By that logic, we should call Eminem a Black man. Don't do that. Chet Hanks got a Black card. He's the blackest motherfucker we've ever seen. Don't do that. Y'all want to claim Gary Owen as a Black man too? So every white person and Latina and Asian that pledge a Black sorority, they're Black, right? We're going to play that. We're going to play that game. By the way, before we let this continue, the Troubleman twins are in the building. The Troubleman twins are in the building.
You look at high school photos of her. When you look at the music she grew up listening to, and I know you can find a selected photo and fake it to make it.
Now it's the music.
I think that's far more applicable for Obama, frankly, than I do Kamala Harris. I think Barry from Hawaii had a whole lot more cultural transformation when he ran for office than Kamala Harris did. But that notwithstanding, Kamala Harris made a choice at 17, 18 years old to go to where? Howard University.
And she made a choice to go on the Breakfast Club and lie and say she listened to Snoop Dogg and Tupac in college when they didn't even come out yet. Oh, Mark, you make it so hard to defend you, bro.
Get to work.
You do not just arbitrarily, as a person raised and ensconced in Indian culture, decide to pick up and go to DC, Chocolate City, and go to an all-Black university. Maybe
what? How many Indians have gone to an all? Never mind. How many? So Indians don't go to DC to go to college? So you're gonna tell me there's no Black people that? Never mind. I shouldn't have to explain to Marc Lamont Hill, of all people, who teaches at a university, that there's such thing as Black Indian people. They're from Trinidad and Guyana. I think I shouldn't have to explain that. That's the difference. There are Black people on them two countries that practice Indian culture. Yes. But they're called Afro-Trinidadian, Afro-Guyanese. That woman's both sides are Indian. Her father got the Irish over there. That's the difference. Y'all are trying to make her Black. Damn. I wish somebody would just send me the interview where he said he was Black. Anybody, I don't care who it is. Send me the interview.
But you don't choose HU arbitrarily. And then you pledge, AKA, of course, Black fraternity sororities are elitist. Of course, they're bourgeois, all that stuff. I'm not.
And white women are in there, sir.
Repudiation of them at this moment. I'm just saying.
Latinas and Asians are in there.
That you probably are connected to Black culture. Might be bougie Black culture. maybe what y'all call boule black culture, but it's still black culture. I don't think she turns it off. No, I didn't meet Kamala Harris when she was running for president or vice president or Senate. So my experience with her, the first time I met Kamala Harris was a very different situation on the West Coast. She was working as an attorney, and there was nothing in my interaction with her that would have made me thought that she was remotely Indian. Now, you might say,
it's called cosplaying. It's called cosplaying. Remember, y'all got pissed off at Aquafina for acting like what did they say? A hood rat black chick with a bad accent. Oh, after she got ripped up, what happened? When last time y'all come outside and see her? Oops. Aquafina went right back to her Asian roots and jumped into Shang-Chi. She ain't doing no black shit no more, is she? Kamala Harris is trying to engineer a black identity, and y'all are falling for it in the age of delineation. Ain't that something? Marc Lamont Hill, you are a black American, allegedly. You should be offended. Out of the three of these people, you should be the most offended, because streets are saying that Hotep Jesus is Jamaican and Uncle Hotep might be Haitian. You should be the most offended. But I get it. You want to make sure you see if you can, in the last, 80 days, you can try to get her on the platform to boost your numbers. I see the grift. But go ahead.
that's because she was around Negroes. When you're around Negroes, you do Negro shit, right? But when she's around Indians, she turns it up. She is multiracial. Now, I happen to believe, based on how America functions, that multiraciality at the biological and genealogical level is important. But how do the police see you? How do people read you on the street? How do white people understand you? When
I'm glad you said that, Mark. I'm so glad you said that. How do the police see you? It's funny. You know how they love to tell us that they're the smartest people and we just be talking and we just follow people that are just trying to be radical for no reason. It's funny. I can remember an elder named Millie Fuller Jr. who talks about the 9 areas of human activity. I'm glad you said what you said, Mark. I'm going to play it again because I think y'all know where I'm about to go with this.
Multiraciality at the biological and genealogical level is important. But how do the police see you? How do people read you on the street?
How do the police see you? Funny thing, Mark. There was an invention called the newspaper. I happened to be in New York when they deleted Amadou Diallo. Did they say he was a black man or did they say he was an immigrant from Africa? Ooh, let's play that game. 2006, Sean Bell. He got deleted outside of a strip club a few hours before he was supposed to get married. He was a black man until they found out he was Jamaican and he became Jamaican. Christian Obumseli, they didn't call him a black man, they called him a Nigerian. The dude who got deleted in Michigan, he was from Senegal. Sorry, the Democratic Republic of Congo. He was Congolese. That African woman and her white husband up in New Hampshire that disappeared and found out the white man's family member killed him. African immigrant. They know when to play black, sir. They don't use black man anymore. Even when they highlight black achievement, they go dig in your history. If they see a foreign flag, you are that. So as much as the news hates FBA and ADOS and Friedman, they give them enough respect to make sure to say, all right, you know what? Your accomplishments are yours. The rest of theirs are yours. You have black accomplishments. Those are immigrant accomplishments. And y'all are missing this in real time. Y'all still debating this woman's blackness when she's not black. But you want her black because she's at the head of the table. Got it.
how do white people understand you when they're about to do something racist, right? Are you interpreted as black? Do you internalize blackness? Do you see yourself as black? Do you walk in the world as a black person? I'm not saying that's the only criteria, because if it was, then Rachel Dolezal would be black, and she ain't. But what I'm saying is that if you have enough biological makeup, again, Jamaican ancestry, that
Jamaican does not automatically mean black, sir. Damn. This ethnicity, nationality distinction kills them every time. I'm going to help you, Mark. Nationality, ethnicity does not equal race. Just because Jamaica's 90% African based does not mean that you're automatically black.
and you move through the world as a black person, then to me, denying her
You
blackness.
move through the world as a black person. So every white rapper that's ever moved as a black person is a black person. Got it. Keep making up the rules.
Silly, but my point is ultimately, and Uncle Hotep made an interesting point about, what about the people who only vote for somebody based on the single issue of them being black? I'm saying that's foolish anyway. Do you know how many Negroes out here don't care about Negroes? Do you know how many people here are indisputably black, could go all the way back to Kunta Kinte, not a drop of white blood in them, and still would do everything they could to lock your ass up and take away your rights and not?
Yes, because they're called coons, and you know that.
Build the black economy. So for me, I don't choose my candidate based on their blackness. Now, the tie goes to the Negro. If two people are neck and neck, I'm gonna pick the black person. And maybe if a black person a little behind, I might, if they're the same vicinity, because I happen to love black people in that way. But my primary criterion for choosing who's going to be president or vice president.
Why does his camera keep shaking? Where does he have his camera?
Or mayor or dog catcher is, do they have our interests at heart? Otherwise, these people would have, and I don't mean you, Uncle, these people who are obsessing about race in the way they are would say choose Clarence Thomas because he got more black in him than Kamala Harris. How foolish would that be?
Huh? What?
Otherwise, these people would have, and I don't mean you, Uncle, these people who are obsessing about race in the way they are would say choose Clarence Thomas because he got more black in him than Kamala Harris. How foolish would that be?
Spoken like a true Democrat. Continue. By the way, that was a dig at y'all. That was a dig at y'all.
Uncle Hotep, how do you respond to that?
Well, we like to say on the show, we like me and Hotep used to do a pod together. Yes, she went to Howard, but did she go to Howard to learn how to be black? She said on the Howard alumni profile states, Harris, that being on Howard's campus was central to her development as a black person. She went to school to Howard to learn how to be. That's her.
Uncle Hotep is an asshole. He's an asshole. We know why he said that. He's a jerk. If nothing else, Uncle Hotep is he knows how to troll. I have to give him that. He might be better than Hotep Jesus. He knows how to troll. But go ahead.
First, that's what Howard alumni says. I'm just saying that's what they got on the statue.
That's not what it say, but it's cool. I'm gonna let you finish.
I get what you're saying. I know it's foolish to vote for someone solely because of his color of the skin or anything else. But you got to admit there's a lot of people out there, and you got to admit that when you say that black person might not even look out for y'all. She was district attorney, had a case under her. I mean, she wasn't directly doing the case, but it was people that was working for her doing the case. Sent a man to jail for 50 years. By God's grace, he got a retrial and got out. Jamal Truelove is his name. Jamal Truelove said, "Hey, he didn't see her that much, but during sentencing and the jury vote, she was right there. She made sure she was in there in that courtroom with her stamp on approval. I mean, she's also one. She said, "I'm not going to do anything just solely for black people." I'm not saying that, because sometimes you got to play the political game, you know what I mean? So you can read out there, say that, you know what I mean? But man, like I think, now this is just me. This is me when I put my Hotep bag, presidential candidates are picked decades beforehand. You know what I'm saying? Years beforehand. Sometimes when they're just infants. Kamala, you might be one. You got that good Indian ancestry. You're a little shaky on the blackness. Need you to go to Howard, learn the blackness. And they knew they were going to get all these Indian influxes of immigrants. She's the perfect candidate, but she doesn't have the charisma. If she was charisma, she might be a lot. This might be an open and shut election. She just
Very good point that Uncle Hotep just made. She's a Manchurian candidate, and y'all are falling for it because y'all. This is gonna suck to say, but there's nothing wrong with being black 100% of the time, 24/7, 366. There's nothing wrong with that. It's when you start letting it cloud your judgment for things. Yes, as black people, we're supposed to be voting for policies that help black people. Yes. But you also got to understand, you got to be very strategic on how you do it. Because then people will say, quote, you're using your blackness as a hierarchy to mess with everybody else. That's why they start talking about black nationalism, black supremacy all of a sudden. They're trying to dismiss being black. We got to be careful with that. Again, everybody's admitted it. The concept of being black and the black community let way too many people in there. And a couple of them got in the door and held the door open for everybody. And now we're trying to push it. Now everybody fighting. Can't have that happen no more.
this doesn't happen.
So I disagree with everything you just said. Let me first. That's again I don't want to say it's willful, but it is a wild misinterpretation, misrepresentation of what Howard was saying about her. I worked at an HBCU. I taught at an HBCU. I attended an HBCU. We all talk about as black people. I don't know if did you attend or work at an HBCU, Uncle Hotep? I'm asking. I really don't know.
No.
Okay. No. So maybe it's a good faith to say. We all talk about how our institution shaped how we navigated our blackness or shaped our development as black people. Similarly, were you a Boy Scout?
Yes.
Did that shape your development as a male or as a young man?
It had some input, yes.
Right. But I wouldn't say, see, he was a woman before, and then because it impacted his development as a male, that means he was a woman before. No, it means you're going to develop as a male. The question is how, right? Similarly, a lot of us came into Howard, Morehouse, Spelman, Clark, Medgar Evers, it's not technically HBC, but you get my point, right? Harris Stowe, whatever, Cheney State. We go into these institutions. Like for me, I grew up in an all-black neighborhood. I grew up in the hood. I grew up around certain kinds of black folk, and now I was surrounded by black folk where like everybody kind of was doing their work. Everybody was kind of studying. Everybody at Morehouse wanted to be Martin Luther King. So I started to understand blackness as part of a tradition. I started to understand blackness as part of an ethic of studying. I started a deep study. I started to understand blackness as an ethic of service. You know, I know people from my brother who was 9 years older than me when he went to Morehouse. Morehouse was the first time he had black teachers, black professors, black instructors, right? So it shaped his understanding of who and what he could be. So when black people who went to HBCUs talk about how, you know, it shaped our development as a black person, they don't mean it taught us to be black or it taught. I mean, that's a kind of again, to me, it's as absurd as the example I just gave you with the Boy Scouts. Like it didn't mean you weren't one before, or that you didn't know you were one, that you were somehow a gender non-conforming Uncle Hotep, and your daddy said, you know, I'm sending this motherfucker to Boy Scouts so he can learn how to develop as a boy. Like, no. It means just what it means. We all develop as black. The question was like, how? And these institutions have a tradition of how to do that. To the second point, this idea that there's a decades-long conspiracy to make certain people president, I ain't mad at you for that one, right? But let me tell you something. They ain't picking niggas. They don't go, you know what? I want somebody 40 years from now, 60 years from now. I mean, Kamala Harris is 60 years old. I mean, she was born in 1964. Black people couldn't even vote. Are you telling me the same government that in 1964 wouldn't allow black people to sit at lunch counters into public accommodations in 64, wouldn't allow them to have civil rights and voting in 1965, decided that they were going to pick a product of what they would call miscegenation, that they would find this random ass black Jamaican Indian girl and say, you know what? I'm going to make her president over the Negroes that ain't allowed to vote. And what I'm saying is that there is no lifelong conspiracy to appoint presidents who look like us. Yes, there are people who are groomed for this. They're white men. They've always been white men. They always will be white men. Over time, here's the other reason why it doesn't make sense. Kamala Harris is somebody who, let me put it differently. Black people, unfortunately, because we're often so politically immature, will vote for any black person because they're black. You ain't got to go to Howard. You ain't got to do none of that shit. You could come in here at Carlton Banks. If you black, we gonna vote for you. Look at Barack Obama. Nobody, niggas like, he got a funny name. We don't know him. We're not voting for him. Then Iowa happened. When he won Iowa, niggas was like, wait, we got a black president? Oh, we don't care about Jesse no more. We don't care about Al no more. We're gonna throw away all our leaders. Oh, we love the black. Don't nobody love the Clintons more than black people for all the wrong reasons, but they do. But as soon as they got the opportunity for a black president, what they do? They said, "Sorry, Miss Hillary," and they probably called her Miss Hillary. "Sorry, Miss Hillary. We're going with a black person." That's why the Clintons felt so disrespected, because they feel like they own Negroes, and the Negroes they owned and sponsored somehow gave up on them. My point being that you don't need to have a conspiracy to blackify a black candidate to get black people to vote for him. And you damn sure want to blackify a candidate to get white people to vote for him. The whole point of white people is white people vote for black people that don't act like black people and that they don't read as black people. Remember, it's like in Do the Right Thing, which is our era. When you're like, yeah, I love Michael. He's like, you don't love niggas, but you love Michael Jordan. Yeah, but he's not like regular black. Like white people love extraordinary, magical Negroes. They want the Negro that don't act all the way black, that seems different than all the others. You talk different, you act different. They don't want somebody that can do an AKA stroll. They don't want somebody that says, you know, when somebody says HU. They don't want none of that shit. So none of that's necessary. But to your fundamental point, because I don't want people to say he's ignoring that shit about Kamala locking people up. I am not telling people not to criticize Kamala Harris. I believe in that particular case, which I have studied, and I advocated for him. Kamala Harris wasn't directly involved in it. She was, as you pointed out, it was a corrupt prosecutor and police officer. But you know, I'm an abolitionist, which we can talk about because you misrepresented my position on that one time with Bill Cosby. I happen to believe that the whole system is corrupt, and anybody in it is going to either be corrupt or be corrupted. So Kamala Harris don't get no pass from me on that. Whether you police, whether you prosecutor, or whether you AG, whether you president, nobody has clean hands. So to me, when I make a presidential choice, I'm not trying to choose somebody with clean hands, because that ain't possible. I ain't met a person with clean hands that can win. What I am saying is that criticize Kamala Harris all you want. If you decide not to vote for Kamala Harris, that's fine. I didn't vote for Kamala Harris 4 years ago. I didn't vote for Barack Obama ever in my life. I've never cast a vote for Barack Obama my whole life. I never cast a vote for Hillary Clinton my whole life. I'm not telling people how to vote. What I'm saying is that if you're not going to vote for Kamala Harris, make it because you have a fundamental disagreement with her policy or an ethical disagreement with her practices. But don't do it because you don't think she's black enough. That's just a silly reason to me.
No, I totally agree with that. Don't vote for her just because you don't think she's black. Like I said, if either you can take it either way. Don't vote.
All right, I let that ride for a while because I wanted to hear everything. Now, Mark, how did that work with Obama? How'd that work? You talking about magical Negroes? How'd that work? That bloom went away in 4 years, technically 2. How'd that work? You say you're not going to vote for somebody that has clean hands. Well, number one, politician doesn't have clean hands. Number 2, look at her policy. She lied to black women, and you're a big black female proponent. So off top, you shouldn't vote for her for that because she's lied. Number 3, you keep telling us how you didn't vote for Obama. You're part of the Green Party. That's fine. I care less. If you're looking at the policies of both these candidates, you understand why we're saying vote the couch. Focus on local and state. Screw them. Trump wants to control your money. Kamala wants to control your body. Why the hell are you voting for that? The fact you know that she locked black men up, black females up, black children up, and you still want to vote for her because the other side is trash tells me a lot. You have no, what do they call that word? Standards. Trump was able to grift in 2016. He couldn't grift in 2020. And now he's trying to grift again in 2024. It's not working. Kamala grifted her entire career. Mark, I get it. You're neither Democrat nor Republican. You should watch how she handled Oscar Grant. That should tell you everything. Forget Jamal Truelove. Look at Oscar Grant. That wasn't Trump. That wasn't the Republicans. That was her. That was San Francisco County. That blue county. That Democrat county. But you love black people.
Vote for her because she's black. Don't do not vote for her because you don't think she's black. I mean, that's absolutely correct. You know, but about the development thing, I think it's a little different with Kamala because it
Is there a
seems
reason why we keep calling her Kamala instead of Kamala? Like, why can't
Kamala. Hold on. How do
He
you
just
say
don't
her
know. He don't know how to say her name.
name? It's Kamala.
Kamala, right?
Yeah.
Kamala.
Kamala. You're saying Kamala. Like, you're saying Kamala like
He's saying Kamala like a black person would. You know.
I'm saying it like her. I'm saying it like it's her name. I just think we should respect people calling by their name. That's all.
I'm not trying to do it like disrespectful. Let me be.
Yeah, he's not doing it on
Kamala,
purpose.
right? Kamala. Like you pronounce it K-U-M, right? Kamala.
What I'm saying is
K-U-M.
the emphasis
There
on
you
the first
go
syllable, not the second.
again.
You're saying Kamala, like you're a wrestler Kamala, that you're God.
Oh, Kamala. All right.
Yeah.
No, I meant no disrespect. I'm just like AJ said. I say it like a black person. I guess I don't know. Or I'm just a black man, ex-Pennsylvania man. I don't know what to say. But as far as her development, Kamala was primarily Indian. That's why I say when she went to Howard, just from her life story. Like, you know, how many black people, you know, take bi-yearly trips to India to hang out? I don't know any when I grew up. I don't know any.
How many half black, half Indians do you know? And honestly, how many do you know in your whole life?
I only know one, really.
Right. So is it possible that since you only know one, that's not a fair question? That you don't actually know enough to have that understanding. I know lots of people who are half black, half Indian, including my friend, the children of my friend who just Ibrahim, who just passed away last year. And when I think about that, it's actually quite common. They identify as black, but they also travel to their mother's homeland. So when you say how many people do you know that do that?
But you hear what he said. You hear what he said. You hear what he said. He didn't even realize he said it. Probably after the interview, he realized he said it. Play again. Debate. I'm sorry, not interview. Debate. Say it again, Mark. Say it again.
Friend who just Ibrahim, who just passed away last year. And when I think about that, it's actually quite common. They identify as black, but they also travel to their mother's homeland. So when you say how many people do you know that do that, you're acting as if you know all these black identified half Indians who do something.
Black identifying half Indians. Black identifying. Uncle Hotep. Why you had a layup right there? You could have destroyed his entire argument and you let it pass. What did I say earlier about the Afro-Guyanese and the Afro-Trinidadians? Them folk identify by their culture, not their race. Oops. They'll pray to the god Vishnu with the quickness and think because they go to black church that they're okay. Something
different to her, when in fact, by your own admission, you don't know any.
Yeah,
So at that point.
but whether you're half black, half Indian, you're saying they're claiming black. So is that a black culture thing to try? It doesn't matter if you're half Indian or not, right?
What I'm saying is that you made a grew up claiming Indian, and you're saying it as if it's a fact, when in fact she says something different. She wrote a whole memoir about her life story. Did you read it?
memoirs, you can lie. It's a book. You can lie. Who's gonna fact check you with your life? Fiddlesticks. Come here, Mark.
The more hit, and hit, and more hit, and
Mark, I would like to ask you this question, sir. If I ever meet you in life, how many memoirs do you really think you have told the 100% unadulterated truth? A memoir is your recollection. You're talking about your life from your perspective. We don't know. You're the only person that knows what happened in your life and those that are around you. You really brought up the fact of her memoir in a debate where people are telling you that she's not black. Oh, she wrote it in her book. That means she's black. Great, Mark. Guess what? Have you ever played Fallout 4? Guess what you can do in that game? You can make an avatar of yourself. You have somewhat of a range. You can make yourself into anything. You know what that means? Yeah, that means you can, as a black person, you can make a player that's white. You can make a character that's white or Asian. Who's gonna know? I could write my memoir and just leave out the part that I was arrested in 2006. Who's gonna know unless you go do research? And then when you research and find out that I admitted that, what's the first question you're gonna ask? How accurate is your memoir if you left this part out? How do we know you're telling the truth? Sir, Mark, this was the same woman who said that her family sat around and celebrated Kwanzaa in an Indian household. Mark, Jamaicans don't celebrate Kwanzaa, sir. Trust and believe on the island. There ain't no black people that celebrate Kwanzaa. They celebrate white Jesus Christmas. They ain't killing the goat for the curry goat for Kwanzaa. There ain't no Jamaicans out there living by the 7 principles. Ain't one. So I need this explained to me. Then when she got caught saying that dumb stuff about Coogee Jackalia, the first year, she had to put her white husband in there to get the stink off of it. What, Mark, tell me what black family, right, celebrates Kwanzaa, right, and then eats Indian food? On December 26th. Please tell me. I like to know that.
I did not.
Okay, so she's told you her life story. You refuse to read it, and you hear what her friends say, and you refuse to believe them.
Her friends are gonna believe whatever she tells them.
You look at her trajectory and you refuse to acknowledge it, and then you're saying that the evidence is clear. The evidence is only clear if you throw away all the concrete, direct evidence that says the opposite. So it's like it's a willful kind of dismissal of the truth. Like in all honesty, don't you think you'd be better prepared to answer that question had you read the book and had you listened to her friends' accounts?
Yeah.
So why don't we revisit that part of the point when you actually have enough information to be able to speak on it intelligently? I think that's fair.
But why isn't like her yearly trips, what she cooked, how her mother acted, what her mother did, her sister? Why isn't that that's unimportant in her life?
It's not unimportant, but you're making it seem as if it represents the majority of her childhood experience. And I'm saying is she says it doesn't. The pictures say it doesn't. Her friends say it doesn't. You're deciding somehow that stuff is superordinate and the other stuff is subordinate. And I'm saying that's not true based on the actual evidence. Yes, she went to India twice you said every other year.
Every 2 years she went.
So that means that I'm gonna put my calculator because I'm not that good at math, right? But how many days are in a year? How many days are in a year? 365?
365.25.
Okay, 365.25 times 18. That means that she lived 6,574 days growing up, right? 6,572 days. Hold on to that, for Mr. Moderator, brother moderator. And she went to India 9 times in her childhood, potentially, right? If she went every other year. And let's say she stayed 7 days each time. We don't know if she stayed 1, we don't know if she stayed 14. Let's just say 7, because most people can't afford to stay longer. 9 times 7 is what, Mr. Moderator?
You said what?
9 times 7 is what?
72.
What?
No, 9 times 7 is 63.
63,
You're no longer in charge of math.
Oh Lord. So now we can't even do math and never mind. Never mind. Never mind. He said 9 times 8 is 70. 9 times 7 is 72. Okay.
Man, so 63. So she spent 63 days in India, and she spent 6,500 days not in India. And somehow you decided that the trips to India are more influential than what happened when she wasn't in India.
Yes. Oh, yeah, come on.
What about the time she spent in Canada, sir? She Jamaican, right? Didn't she spend time in Jamaica? That doesn't count for nothing, right? Mark Lamont Hill, we've seen people go to other countries and get their life changed. Remember, Malcolm went to Mecca, right? And his thinking changed now, didn't it? Let's play that game, shall we, since he opened up that Pandora's box. She's been around all these black people, right? And for some odd reason, she don't know how to be a black person. Oh, we going there tonight.
This is way over the edge. Like we it's not even over the edge. We died already.
This is beyond the event horizon. Like we about to hit the vortex.
Yeah, we about to hit the vortex.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna turn this light on. Mark Lamont Hill, I want you to explain to me. Go ask Kamami next time you see her what makes her black. Tell us something culturally black. Who's co-signing her? What battles has she won as a black person? Before becoming a professional, what black battles did she fight in elementary school, middle school, and high school? Go ask her that. Because I bet you if I read that memoir, it ain't gonna be no battles up in there. She identifies more with Indian than black. She's culturally black. She's culturally Indian and professionally black. And black professionals ain't something that you at this juncture need to be lionizing, especially when it comes to her. Because by your logic and what you were saying earlier, anybody can be a black professional or professionally black. That's called cosplaying. She hasn't lived the black experience. The simple fact y'all trying to tell me that she went to a AKA, went through Hell Week, and that automatically makes her black when she's told you how she grew up. That's a damn shame. So you with your big old platform just told the entire world and 2 Hoteps, there's no standards for being black. Hey, if your kids ever get confused, family, on how black they are, just tell them to go to a fraternity or sorority. They'll be all right. They'll be black. They'll be certified. They have to wait a whole 18 years before they're certified black. I wonder if we can get one of them rubber stamps like they put on pigs. You're certified black. Put it right on the ass.
Come on, man. You can't.
I'm not done. Hear me out. And then when she's when she's at home, not in India, because her whole house could be New Delhi, in which case don't matter where she travels. I'm just saying, though, you mentioned the trips as if they suggest something. But if you go back to the other part of what she did, she says she grew up with black music. She says she grew up with.
God. Well, he's a professor. I got to listen to him. She grew up with black music. That makes her black. FBA ADOS Friedman. Y'all now have to accept wiggers. FBA ADOS Friedman. Y'all have to accept Aquafina. Y'all have to accept the battle rapper Jin. Y'all have to accept China Mac. Y'all have to accept 1998 Jackie Chan. Y'all have to accept 2001 Romeo Must Die Jet Li. Y'all have to accept them Asians that were breakdancing at the Olympics. FBA ADOS Friedman, you have to accept every Japanese rapper that dresses black. FBA ADOS Friedman, you have to accept the Latinos. Tariq, according to Marc Lamont Shill over here, Dr. Cologne was right. You have to accept him. He's black. Oh, FBA ADOS Friedman. Y'all have to accept the Jewish folk who run the music system. The Emmanuels, yes. Liar Cohen's in them, yes. You got to accept them. Because they grew up and listened and profited off of black music, according to Marc Lamont Shill. We have to accept Super Sentai out of Japan because they finally, after all them years, had a black man in a prominent role in one of their shows. Because Marc Lamont Hill said, because Kamala Harris, because I'm going to be nice because he said it, Kamala Harris grew up listening to black music. Cool. Except Elvis Presley. Except Pat Boone. Wait a minute. There's somebody else you need to accept. FBA Adolf Friedman. There's a few more people you got to accept, according to Marc Lamont Hill, because they grew up listening to black music.
Moving on up, shooting inside, moving on up, while the looks apartment in the sky. Moving on up, shooting inside. We finally got a piece of the pie. Fish on fry on the kitchen, a fish on bar on the grill. Took out one of the dry, I just get up. Now we're rolling big leaves, getting our children there. As long as we leave, it's too late, baby. There ain't no wrong with that. We're moving on up, shooting inside, moving on up, to our dear looks apartment in the sky. Moving on up, shooting inside. We finally got a piece of the pie.
Y'all accepting all 25 of them people that were on stage? Huh. Thanks, Mark.
Black food. She said she grew up with black friends.
Black
She said she grew up with
food. Black food. God, Jesus Christ. Black food now. We're not going there. Black food. She grew up with black food.
I'm just saying, no. You mentioned the trips as if they suggest something. But if you go back to the other part of what she did, she said she grew up with black music. She said she grew up with black food. She said she grew up with black friends. She said she grew up with black internet. Not that she did.
Hey, wait a minute. We forgot one other person. By that logic, Mark, then we should say Vivek Ramaswamy is black because his first 5 years, he grew up in a black neighborhood in Southwest Cincinnati.
Those things instead of the Indian stuff. I'm saying she did both. And so, but you keep talking as if she grew up in this staunch Indian life. And then I can show you pictures of her black grandmother. I can show you pictures of her in Jamaica. I can show you her pictures.
Marc Lamont Hill, once again, Jamaicans do not believe in the concept of black. I don't think you understand this. The wide-ranging Jamaicans do not believe in the concept of black. They don't. Remember, out of many, one people. Everybody's Jamaican. When they start talking black, they get called the radicals. Don't nobody want to hear from them. They're being divisive. We'll show an example of that tomorrow. But continue.
Hoop earrings, the bamboo earrings. I can show you pictures of her doing black.
Hoop earrings and bamboo earrings. This is what she said. He's about to say she also wore barrettes and bubbles.
But you keep talking as if she grew up in this staunch Indian life. And then I can show you pictures of her black grandmother. I can show you pictures of her in Jamaica. I can show you her pictures with hoop earrings, the bamboo earrings. I can show you pictures of her doing black shit in the day-to-day. And to me,
doing black shit. Doing black shit. So doing black stuff makes you black. November 5th, boy. November 5th. Woo! By the way, screenshot. That's how when he gets his wake up call, that's the exact picture I'm gonna use. she's done black stuff that makes her black. Okay. All right.
The day-to-day blackness trumps biannual Indianness. If we talk about the
Day-to-day blackness. How black was she in the San Francisco County DA's office? How black was she during being an AG? How black was she being a senator? Mark, tell us what the definition of black is in a racial sense, please.
Why don't you just read her book where she said her own personal story? Let me put it differently. You act as if she gives us all the tools to prove your point. And the tools are her statements and her evidence. What I'm saying is if you look at all of the stuff that she gives us, it proves my point. And what you've effectively said is, well, I haven't looked at the stuff she told us. And so then you're selectively pulling from the things that people who believe she's not black are saying. I'm saying, don't believe them. Don't believe me. Read it all for yourself. And I think you'll be persuaded, but you got to read it and see for yourself. I just don't give enough information. There's no way, because you're a smart guy, Uncle Hotep. There's no way if you had all the information, you'd be making this claim. But again, for me, it's not, I don't want to spend too much time on it, even though I'm completely right. And I think I'm mollywopping you on this point. But beyond that, for me, it's that whether she's black or not doesn't matter at the level of who we should vote for. Let's say you're right, and she's the most Indian person we've ever met. Or let's say I'm right, and she is straight off the boat, West African, never had a drop of white influence or unblack influence, non-black influence in her. Let's say one of us is completely right. It doesn't change the political reality, which is this person in our interests? That's all.
She's not. No.
I care about.
But she's not for our interests, sir. She's not. She's the candidate brought in to get more of the Jewish contingent into legislative power. They've already proven that. They're knocking off the CBC right now, sir. How do you sit up there as a black man, even though I hate the CBC with a passion, but how do you as a black man sit up there and watch that happen and your black presidential candidate is not saying a word about it? And she's part of that organization. Why is she not saying a word? She used the CBC to ascend. And as soon as she got into that White House, she turned her back on them. It just wasn't public unless you were looking. Maybe that's one of them black things you was talking about.
Hold up, man. Hold up. About this doing the mathematics and how many days she stayed in India. You've been to Africa?
Many times.
Mark?
Many times.
Would you say that was wasn't a long time, right? It wasn't like days wise. Wouldn't you say that was a life-changing experience for you?
Some of the trips were, some weren't, but they definitely shaped my development as a black man. Oh wait, let me not say that because you will say I wasn't black before. Yes, they shaped my development as a black man. No, yes. I don't want no smoke.
So
y'all already said
those same trip in India shaped Kamala as an Indian.
Wait, you broke up. You broke
2
up.
weeks out of the year, every 2 years. Is that me?
No, you back.
We good now?
Yeah.
Okay. Just because it was only 2 weeks out of the year doesn't mean it didn't put a substantial impact on Kamala's life. Like
that's a straw man.
That's going to another country. A lot of people that live don't even leave the country. The majority of Americans don't even leave the country.
My
and
point.
She did that.
Hold on, Mark.
You 9 times in her lifetime.
Yeah. My point isn't that it doesn't impact her. What I'm saying is that if I were to go to India 9 times in my life, you would say, yeah, Mark, but you lived as a black person all the rest of your life. What I'm saying is that Kamala Harris growing up also lived her life as a black person. I'm not saying
she lived her life as a black person. Okay, Mark, here's the difference. You lived more of a black experience than she did. She didn't grow up. She didn't grow up in black neighborhoods. No, she didn't. That's a big qualifier. She wasn't around this culture like that. Just because her father might have been black or she went to Jamaica does not mean she was around black culture. She wasn't immersed in it. But okay, you said something else.
What I'm saying is that Kamala Harris growing up also lived her life as a black person.
She lived her life as a black person. So did Rachel Dolezal. But you just said earlier she's not black. Again, Mark, what is the word we call somebody living a lie? Should I go get the clip? Fine, you forced my hand. I'm going to go get the clip. Wow, so the Trump space is actually working. We're going to pause this.
I'm not saying, though, that she did.
They said the Trump space is working. Switch.
If you think about it, Russia's gone, Russia defeated Germany with us, and they defeated Napoleon. They've been around a long time. They're a big fighting force. And it's very unfair. And Ukraine now, it was so bad. The words that he was using, the stupid threats coming from a stupid face that he was using. I said, this guy's going to cause us a war. He's going to cause us. And let me tell you, it can lead to World War III. That can lead to World War III. The Middle East can lead to. We have numerous places that could end up in a World War III right now for no reason whatsoever.
I think you're right. I think people underrate the risk of World War III, and it's just when looking at the risk of global thermonuclear warfare, it's game over for humanity, and it's something that people have, I think, after the end of the Cold War, people have become complacent about, but they actually have forgotten that there are currently a lot of nuclear missiles that have targeting parameters for the United States from 100%. Other countries.
And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to build an Iron Dome over us. Israel has it. We're going to have the best Iron Dome in the world. We need it, and we're going to make it all in the United States. But we're going to have. Who is we? Because it just takes one maniac to start something. We're going to have protection, and we're going to have. Why shouldn't we have an Iron Dome? Israel has one.
Sir,
Some other places have one that nobody even knows about, frankly.
You hear him.
Israel has it. We're going to have an Iron Dome. But with all of that being said, to me, that's
economic
so
military
important,
policy,
the most important.
beautiful.
But with all of that being said, the election's coming up, and the people want to hear about the economy and the fact that they can't buy groceries because they don't have enough money to buy groceries.
How are you going to do that?
Inflation has killed them. Food prices are up 50, 60, even 100% in some cases.
How are you going to fix it?
And this stupid administration allowed this to happen.
Wonderful. How are you going to fix it?
And that's the thing that people most care about, in my opinion. They care about the border a lot. And we discussed the border at great length. It's nice to have a forum.
Why is he talking about the border? You just said economy. Let's go.
At length. And by the way, you think Biden could do this interview? Do you think that Kamala could do this interview? They would take a pass on you. They don't need Elon. They don't need Elon screaming out questions. It's pretty sad when you think
he just went to
that
the economy. Now he's talking about Biden
can't
again.
Answer a question or is afraid to do an interview. And in her case, with a very friendly interview, she's got all friendly interviewers. It's pretty sad.
Absolutely.
But the big thing now is the economy, Elon. And as much as I mean, I view nuclear as the single most important thing, but a lot of people don't understand that. But it doesn't have to. If I understand it, that's all you need. Because if I was president, you're not going to have that kind of a problem. But the thing that they really is making them angry is what Kamala and Biden have allowed to happen to the economy. It's a disaster.
How are you going to fix
with inflation? The inflation. It doesn't matter what you make. The inflation is eating you alive. If you're a worker, or if you're just a middle income person, you can't afford. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, people were saving a lot of money. Today, they're using all their money and borrowing money just to live. It's a horrible thing that's happening, and we'll end that quickly.
Well, I think a lot of people just don't understand where inflation comes from. Inflation comes from government overspending because the checks never bounce.
Wonderful. How's he going to fix it?
If the government spends far more than it brings in, that increases the money supply. And if the money supply increases faster than the rate of goods and services, that's inflation. So really, we need to have we need to reduce our government spending, and we need to re-examine. I think we need like a government efficiency commission to say like, hey, where are we spending
More
money that's
government.
sensible?
You
Where is it
hear
not
'em.
sensible? And we need to live within our means.
I thought the
We're
conservative
currently adding,
Republicans
I
said
think,
limited
$1 trillion
government. Now
to
you
the
want more.
deficit,
Now you want a
every-
commission.
roughly every 100 days. And the interest payments on the national debt have now exceed the defense budget. It's on the order of $1 trillion.
It's interest.
And it keeps
I
growing.
rebuilt our military, largely rebuilt our military, did a great job on it, which was so important.
What
we
happened
had
to the
jets, we had
economy?
fighters that were and bombers that were 70 years old. And we did a great job in that. Then we, by the way, then we gave
I'll let y'all
85
listen.
billion
I'm
of
gonna
it
read
back
this.
to Afghanistan, if you can believe
Screw
it. We
it.
gave them 85 billion. You know, they're one of the largest sellers of military equipment in the world. They're selling what we gave them. That was one of the most embarrassing days in the history of our country. But
We're supposed to
if
be
you
talking
think
about the
well,
economy.
let's
You're
go back
talking
to
about that.
the economy. We have to bring energy prices down. Energy started it. The price of gasoline. Now your cars don't require too much gasoline, so you know you have a good, and you do make a great product. I have to say, I have to be honest with you. That doesn't mean everybody should have an electric car, but these are minor details. But your product is incredible. But the gasoline, Elon, is the cost of energy. Not only gasoline, it's the cost of heating your house and cooling your house. That has to come down. It's gone up 100%, 150, and 200%, and that has to come down. When that comes down, and we're going to drill, baby, drill. You know, they stopped drilling, and then they went back to drilling because they went back to the Trump policy. But if they won the day after they get into office, this country will go out of business because they're going to go to an energy policy that's not sustainable. Wind and different things. You're not going to have anything.
Yeah.
And I know you're a big fan of the AI, and I have to say that AI, and this is shocking to me, but AI requires twice the energy that the country already produces for everything. So you're going to have to build. We're going to have to build a lot of energy if our country will be competitive with China, because that's our primary competitor for this on the AI. You're going to need a lot of electricity. You're going to need tremendous electricity, like almost double what we produce now for the whole country, if you can believe it.
Sure. Well, just going, back to this, like this basic thing, that people try to make it sound complicated, but it's not. But inflation is caused by government overspending. Would you agree that we need to take a look at government spending and have perhaps a government efficiency commission that just tries to make the spending sensible, and so the country lives within its means, just like a person
The
does?
waste is incredible, and nobody negotiates prices. You used to have a lot of people making jets, and you end up with two companies, and they'll probably try and merge at some point. I mean, I went through it, like Air Force, just a thing like Air Force One. One of the first documents they asked me to sign, a general walks in, "Sir, would you please sign this document?" And what is it? Air Force One. That's with Boeing, which is basically two planes, two 747s. And the price was $5.7 billion for two planes. Now, now they're highly sophisticated.
That's insane.
They're even nicer than your plane, okay? But much more sophisticated. They're very, I won't say what's on it, but they got a lot of stuff on it. Anyway, but it's 5.7.
That's a crazy
it's
number.
a crazy number, but I said, I'm not going to pay 5.7. I'm not going to do it. I said, who made the deal? Obama and his people. I said, well, then I know the deal's no good. I'm not going to do it. And over a course of about 4 weeks, by my saying I'm not going to do it, I got the price reduced by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane, other than we had a nicer paint job, if you want to know the truth. But for the exact same plane, I saved one. And I said to Boeing, man, you guys must make a lot of money if you can reduce the price by that. But now what I do hear is that they're going back to the Biden administration and wanting big cost overruns, because they see these dopey suckers in there, and they'll end up getting some of the money back. But I shaved it by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane. And you can now take that and multiply that out times thousands of other items.
Multiply it by a
the
zillion,
numbers are astronomical. I agree with you.
Well,
I didn't hear nothing about no economy.
So I mean, I mean, I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these
Keep
things
angling for a
and
job. You hear
just
him.
ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. And I'd be happy to help out on such a commission.
I'd love
if
it.
it were formed.
What'd I tell
You're
you?
the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say,
This is a
you want to
Kit Kat
quit?
fest.
They go on
Yeah.
strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, that's okay. You're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it. But you know, if you look at Argentina,
Well, I'd be happy
yeah,
to help
by the way,
out.
congratulations. I
Yeah.
just looked at the number of people that are listening to you and I chat. We'll call it a chat. But congratulations. This is very good. I mean, it's great. And you're an interesting character. You know, the new head of a place called Argentina, and he's a big,
Malay's
you know,
awesome.
he's great. And
Yeah.
he's a big MAGA fan, you know that. He ran on MAGA. And he took it to an extreme too. He ran on MAGA, and I hear he's doing really a terrific job. It's called Make Argentina Great Again. It worked out perfectly. He came in, he bought a lot of hats, he brought over, but he's doing a big job. He really cut. And I'm hearing
Yeah.
they're starting to do pretty well. Inflation's getting down. You know, they had like
Yes,
2,000%. They had inflation like not normal inflation. They had the real deal. But we're going to have that pretty soon. I think we have the worst inflation we've had in 100 years. They say it's 48 years. I don't believe it. I think we have the worst. They don't include a lot of the items that should be included, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's just from government overspending and not spending taxpayer money effectively, and having, you know, just like so many departments you can't even name them all. And what Milei is doing is, you know, he's cutting government spending. He's simplifying things. He's having, you know, putting in regulations that make sense, and we're Argentina overnight is experiencing a giant improvement in prosperity. But it's also a lesson for the United States, which is that Argentina used to be one of the most prosperous countries in the world. You know, in the 30s, 40s, and because of bad government policy, it ruined the country. And if you take Venezuela, for example, Venezuela should be incredibly prosperous. They have, you know, phenomenal reserves of everything, oil, everything, and it should be prosperous. But if the government's wrong, it impoverishes the people. And so I think we should not be complacent in the United States in thinking that and taking our prosperity for granted, because if with bad government policy, we can run the country into the ground. And that's just something people should bear in mind. Don't take prosperity for granted.
Well, think of education. So we're ranked at the bottom of every list of the top 40. We're ranked number 40, number 38. Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, different countries are ranked good. Actually, China's pretty close to the top. They're a top 6 or 7. But we're ranked at the bottom, almost at the bottom, 38, 39, 40. In other words, horrible. And yet we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. So we spend more. And what I'm going to do, one of the first acts, and this is where I need an Elon Musk. I need somebody that has a lot of strength and courage and smarts. I want to close up Department of Education, move education back to the states, where states like Iowa, where states like Idaho, you know, not every state will do great, because states that basically aren't doing good now. You look at Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. He's terrible. He does a terrible job. So he's not going to do great with education. But of the 50, I would bet that 35 would do great, and 15 of them, or 20 of them, will be as good as Norway. You know, Norway is considered great. You can name them. I mean, they're so good. Some of these countries are so good. But if you go into some of these really well-run states, you know, we have states that don't know what debt is. We have states that have low taxes, no debt, everybody working. You know, they're really well-run. Sure. And maybe they have certain advantages in terms of location, in terms of, you know, the land or the sun and the water and the whole thing. You know, there are a lot of advantages that some people have. But if you move education back to the 50, you'll have some that won't do well. but they'll actually be forced to do better because it'll be a pretty bad situation. But if you think about it, you'll have some of these states. I'll bet you'd have 30, 35 states. It'll be much better. And you know what it'll cost? Less than half what it is in Washington. And these people don't care about the students in these faraway states. And it'd be unbelievable.
Sir, what about
I think
when everybody runs to them 35 states?
If the
Then
states
what?
have to, if
Everything in them
each state
35
has to
states is
compete
going to
against
go
other
up.
states, then people will naturally
right.
move to states where it's better.
Well, like California,
and what's
as
going
we
to
said,
happen with
it's
everything in
a
them states?
badly run state. I could go through it. I got so many friends that are in those states, even if they're Democrats. I hate to mention certain states, but Illinois is badly run with Pritzker. He's a real loser. But some of these places are just badly run. But it's almost going to force them to run better, and they won't do it good initially. But you're not going to do worse than you're doing right now. And I would say that the cost, you would cut your cost by 50 or 60%. And you'd have a little mantra. You want to make sure they're teaching English as an example. Give us a little English, right?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. No, I mean, too much. I mean, some of these governors are doing so badly. I mean, they got so many people moving out of their state. They should get U-Haul Salesman of the Year award because they're driving so much U-Haul.
It's actually amazing.
Just people moving out.
Isn't it amazing to you as a businessman that they can even survive? Like Illinois. So many people are leaving, and you wonder, how do they survive? I mean, how do they survive? I saw where you left California, and you moved to Texas. Texas does a great job. But, I mean, I just wonder, how do these states survive when big businesses, a big oil company just left California, as you know, and they moved to Texas. How do these big states survive when they lose so many businesses? And their taxes are already really high. Their taxes are among the highest taxes. You almost wonder, how do they continue on? And in many cases, the governors don't do a good job in their crime-ridden places. You wonder, how do they continue to just go on? It's not a good situation.
I mean, I think the only thing that's going to force some of these states to change is if they risk bankruptcy and they're not getting bailed out by the federal government.
Right. Well,
that's the only thing that's
going
to get them to change.
You remember the area in California where they had that, where I guess somebody had sticky fingers and they stole a lot of money, and they went into a form of chapter, and it was very nasty for a period of time. But now it's probably the most popular place in all of California. So at some point, something like that may have to happen. But the problem is, you can't penalize people that loan money to the state when you have incompetent people like a Pritzker. Look, the family didn't want him in the family business, and then he ends up being governor of Illinois. So what is he going to be? Is he going to be a great governor? And you have people. I could name every one of them. I got to know every one of these, and some are very good, and some are just horrible.
Well, I think that the larger point here, too, as you're saying, like a lot of people are concerned about the economy. A lot of people are concerned about inflation, and inflation is effectively a tax on people that save money, and for people that are working day to day, it's just a form of taxation. And if we can solve the government spending problem, we'll solve the inflation problem, which means people will have a better standard of living, and that's a really big deal.
Well, the people that got hurt worst are the people that did it the way they were taught to do it all through, their younger life and their young life and their whole life. The people that saved money, and then they got no interest on their money, and inflation destroyed them. And frankly, they were almost better off if they didn't do anything like that. I mean, those people have been absolutely decimated, and we're going to bring those people back and help those people. We've got to get the prices down. When I look at bacon costing 4 or 5 times more than it did a few years ago, when you look at some of the food products in grocery stores, people go, they can't believe it. They used to be able to buy a whole cart, and today, a lot of people just don't have the money. They go in and they can't buy anything. They look at it's sticker shock. They call it sticker shock, right?
I think it really just comes, like I said, I think it just comes down to really, I guess, two things, which is that if you solve government overspending, you solve inflation, which improves living standards of the average person, and then if you deregulate, like have sensible regulations, so because a lot of the regulations are nonsensical and cause the cost to be extreme for no reason. But unless you've got effective deregulation, like Reagan did a great job on deregulation in the 80s, but it's been 40 years since we had anyone really. I mean, during your administration, we made some progress, but I think there's opportunity to make, I think, radical progress with sensible regulation. And if
Elon,
those two things, those are the big deals.
We set a record. We did more deregulation and more restrictions on all of the different businesses than any other president. Remember, I had the rule for every one we put in, you have to get rid of 10 or 12. And we did radical cuts on all of that. And a lot of that's being put back by this administration. And we did radical cuts on things that weren't necessary. But we were all set. You know, we had the best economy ever maybe in the world. And then what happened is COVID came in and we had to focus on that and nobody knew what it was. And I always say I got good marks on economy, good marks on military. We knocked out ISIS. We did so many different things. We rebuilt. But, you know, I never got the credit that we really deserved on what we did with COVID. We never got the credit. But had that not happened, a gift from China, from Wuhan, came in from Wuhan, the Wuhan labs, and I always said it, and it turned out to be right. But had that not happened, we were set to start reducing debt. We were going to reduce taxes further. I gave the largest tax cuts, and we were going to reduce taxes still further for middle-income people, not only businesses. But we did it for businesses because they're the ones that's why we had the great job numbers. But we were set to really start reducing debt. And, you know, we're sitting on the biggest pile of liquid gold anywhere in the world, bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Russia. And we were going to drill and we were going to make so much money. We were going to supply Europe with oil. I had stopped the Russian pipeline and we were going to supply them with oil and gas. We were going to make a fortune. And then the COVID came in and we really had to divert. Then what happened is when they came in, you know, we kept a lot of businesses alive. If I didn't do what we did, we would have had a 1929 type depression. But the problem is when Biden came in, he got trillions of dollars and just started spending it stupidly. You didn't need it anymore. You know, we got over that bad period where everybody was dying and, you know, it was just not a good period. Interestingly, you know, during his administration, many more people died during his administration of COVID than during my administration. And we really got the brunt of it. But people don't realize more people died during his administration than ours. But it diverted us from doing what I wanted to do. But we had the greatest for, you know, almost 3 years. We had the great, and you know that probably better than anybody. So many of your friends said to me, the best years we've ever had in business were during the Trump years. And also said that African American, Hispanic American were so incredible. They were having the best. Asian American women, men, young people without a diploma, young people that graduated from the best colleges, from MIT, from the Wharton School, from all of the great colleges, Harvard. They were doing better, and people without a diploma were doing better.
His alma mater.
And everybody was happy. And then COVID came, and we had the problem is they spent trillions and trillions of dollars. They wasted. They shouldn't have taken any money, and we wouldn't be having inflation right now, which is killing our country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I should probably say something about, like, you know, maybe my views on, you know, climate change and oil and gas, because I think it's probably different from what most people would assume. Because my views are actually pretty, I think, moderate in this regard, which is that I don't
Are your
think
feelings
the
hurt?
vilified oil and gas industry and the people that have worked very hard in those industries to provide the necessary energy to support the economy. And if we were to stop using oil and gas right now, we would all be starving and the economy would collapse. So it's, you know, I don't think it's right to sort of vilify the oil and gas industry. And I you know, the world has a certain demand for oil and gas, and it's probably better if the United States provides that than some other countries. And it would help with prosperity in the U.S. And at the same time, obviously, my view is like we do over time want to move to a sustainable energy economy, because eventually you do run out of, I mean, you run out of oil and gas. It's not there, it's not infinite. And there is some risk. I think the risk is not as high as you know, a lot of people say it is with respect to global warming. But I think if you just keep increasing the parts per million in the atmosphere long enough, eventually it actually simply gets uncomfortable to breathe. People don't realize this. If you go past 1,000 parts per million of CO2, you start getting headaches and nausea. And so
I'm at that point
we're now
right
in the
now.
sort of 400 range. We're adding, I think, about roughly 2 parts per million per year. So I mean, it still gives us. So what it means is like we still have quite a bit of time, but so there's not like we don't need to rush, and we don't need to, like, you know, stop farmers from farming, or, you know, prevent people from having steaks, or basic stuff like that. Like you can leave the farmers alone.
I agree. How crazy is that? Where I mean, you have farmers that are not allowed to farm anymore and have to get rid of their cattle, and the whole world is a little crazy. But it's largely taken its lead from us. I just say, though, I've heard in terms of the fossil fuel, because even to create your electric car and create the electricity needed for the electric car, you know, fossil fuel is what really creates that at the generating plants. And, you know, so you sort of can't get away from it at this moment. I mean, someday you might be able to, but I do hear we have anywhere from 100 to 500 years left. You know, much of it hasn't even been found yet.
Yeah.
But there are tremendous, like Anwar. I got Anwar in Alaska approved. Ronald Reagan couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. Everybody tried. Nobody could do it. I got it approved. The first thing that Biden did was unimprove it, to get rid of it. He ended it. His secretary went in and she ended it. And what a disgrace. That's Anwar. That's bigger, or they think it could be bigger than Saudi Arabia in Alaska. Could be bigger than Saudi Arabia. But they went in and they terminated it. And I'll get it going very quickly, because not only is it big for Alaska, I mean, you talk about economic development, that for the United States, I mean, that is, they say bigger than Saudi Arabia or the same size, and pure, really good stuff. And, you know, they end it. So I think we have, you know, perhaps hundreds of years left. Nobody really knows. But during that time, something will come around that will be very good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my estimate would be, you know, a little more aggressive than that. But it's not the sort of like we're all going to die in 5 years stuff. That's obviously BS. But I mean, my view is like, if you just look at sort of the parts per million that increments every year, you know, you get sort of 2 or 3 parts per million every year of CO2. I mean, I think
hell are you
some of that it's problematic if it accelerates, if you start going from 2 or 3 to say 5, and then there may be some situations where you get just a step change increase in the CO2, and I think we don't want to get too close to 1,000 ppm, because like that's actually makes it uncomfortable to breathe. Like just existing in 1,000 ppm CO2 is uncomfortable. That's like that's considered like an industrial hazard,
right?
Just so it's, you know, that's actually, you start getting headaches and stuff. So it's even without global warming, it's not comfortable to live. So you don't want to get too close to that. But I mean, I think we've got. I think we want to just move over, and like, and if I don't know, 50 to 100 years from now, we're I don't know, mostly sustainable, I think that'll probably be okay. So it's not like the house is on fire immediately, but I think it is something we need to move towards. And on balance, it's probably better to move there faster than slower. But like I said, without vilifying the oil and gas industry, and without causing hardship in the short term, I think this can be done. Without, you know, people can still have, you know, a steak, and they can still drive gasoline cars, and this, you know, it's okay. It's like, it's not. I don't think we should vilify people for it, but I think we should just generally lean in the direction of sustainability, and I actually think solar is going to be a majority of Earth's energy generation in the future, and it's certainly trending that way. And so you get the solar power, combine that with batteries. So obviously the sun doesn't shine at night, and then you use that to charge your electric cars, and you have a long-term sustainable solution. And that's what Tesla's trying to move things towards, and I think we've made a lot of progress in that regard. But when you look at our cars, we don't believe
Not even
that
saying
environmentalism,
anything.
that caring about the environment should mean that you have to suffer. So we make sure that our cars are beautiful, that they drive well, that they're fast.
I can't believe that
they're
Mark Lamont
cool. In
Hill,
fact, literally,
that Don
the sexy joke, Model
can't
S,
believe this.
Model 3, Model X, and Y spells out sexy. It's probably the most expensive joke out there.
I'd rather
but
hear
I
Don
don't know, I like
Lemon
cheesy humor,
interview Trump.
So, but I'm a big fan of, like, let's have an inspiring future, and let's work towards a better future, and we do so without demonizing
Right.
people.
I'm okay. It's very interesting. You use the word global warming, and today they use the word climate change because you have some places that go up, and so they were getting themselves in a little trouble with the word global warming because not every place is warming. Some places are going the opposite direction. But I'm sort of waiting for you to come up with solar panels on the roofs of your cars and on the trunks of the cars.
I'm waiting for you to talk about
it just
the damn
seems like
economy.
something that at some point you will come up with. I'm sure you'll be the first. But it would seem that a solar panel on the roofs, on flat surfaces, on certain surfaces might be good.
Yeah.
At least in certain areas of the country where you have the world
Sure.
where you have the sun. But I would think, and I have no idea because that's not my world, but I would think that this would be something that would be interesting. But the one thing that I don't understand is that people talk about global warming or they talk about climate change, but they never talk about nuclear warming. And to me, that's an immediate problem because you have, as I said, 5 countries where you have major nuclear and probably some others are getting there. And that's very dangerous. That's where you need a strong American president because you don't want to have this proliferation. But you have 5 countries and getting more. China is much less than us right now, but they're going to catch us sooner than people think. They're
You're gonna
way
mention
lower.
BRICS.
Russia and us are number 1, and we're sort of tied. And China is far behind, but they're developing at a level that you're not surprised to hear very fast. They'll end up catching up, maybe even surpassing. But to me, the biggest problem is not climate change. It's not, and everything's a problem, but it's degrees. To me, the big problem is the nuclear power. The power of nuclear is so great. And when I talk about I'll prevent World War III, I will. But the truth is that you have to, because this is no longer army tanks going back and forth and shooting at each other. This is a level of destruction and power that nobody's ever seen before.
Yeah, and actually, there's the bad side of nuclear, which is a nuclear war, very bad side. But there's also, I think, nuclear electricity generation is underrated.
You're right.
And it's actually, people have this fear of nuclear electricity generation, but it's actually one of the safest forms of electricity generation. It's just a huge misunderstanding. And if you look at the injuries and deaths, caused by, say, I'm not going to try to pick on coal mining, but just any kind of mining operation, and there's a certain number of injuries and deaths per year. And you compare that to nuclear. Nuclear is actually way better. So it's underrated as an electricity source, and I think it's something that's worth reconsidering. But there's so much regulation that people can't get it done. So that
maybe they'll have to change the name. The name is it's a rough name. There are some areas like
it's rough
like
name.
When you see what happened in
bad branding.
Right,
The
we'll have
branding
to
rough.
rebrand it. We'll have to give it a good name. We'll name it after you or something. No, it has a branding problem. When you see what happened,
it does have a branding problem.
When you see what happened in Japan, where they say you won't be able to go on the land for about 3,000 years. Did you ever see that? And in Russia, where they had the problem, where they, there's a lot of bad things happened, and they have a problem. They say that
years after
in 2,000 years, people will start to occupy the land again. You realize it's pretty bad.
No,
but,
that's not true.
But
he said
you're right about it.
It's actually not that bad. So like after Fukushima happened in Japan, like people were asking me in California, are we worried about like a nuclear cloud coming from Japan? I'm like, no, that's crazy. It's actually, it's not even dangerous in Fukushima. I actually flew there and ate locally grown vegetables on TV to prove it. And I donated a solar water treatment, a solar powered system for a water treatment plant. And
yeah, but you haven't been feeling so well lately, and I'm worried about it.
It's not dangerous.
No, but I mean,
I'm only kidding.
It's fine, It's like Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So
Right.
it's
Well,
really
that's great.
not
That's
something
Well,
that
it didn't take 1,000 years.
So it's not as scary as people think, basically.
Yeah.
But
Oh, by the way, Elon,
let's see.
how
I
did
mean,
Chernobyl
are
work
there some
out?
other topics we should touch on? Like lawfare. I think
Well,
we need to be concerned about
what they've done to this country.
Obviously.
Yeah. Well, we just won the big
I mean,
case in Florida. This was a Biden administration did something that's never been done in this country, and that's go after their political opponent, me, with this nonsense and just nonsense. And the big case in Florida we won, but they always pick a judge and a jury, and they used local DAs. They used the local
Real baby
attorney
drill. That's
general.
all I heard.
Like Fani, Fani.
Now we
Spelled
talking about
Fani, Fani. And it's all a big hoax, and it's all run from there. Like in Manhattan, one of the top people from the Justice Department went in, ran Manhattan, ran the state. The Letitia James deal was run by a person from the Department of Justice, Biden. They've never done this before, and they set up a very bad precedent.
Here we go, sir. If you had
called
policy,
lawfare,
nobody would have
warfare
cared about that.
It's a terrible thing, and never happened in our country. It does happen in banana republics and third world countries, but it's never happened.
Banana Republic.
And the incredible thing is, it actually drove my numbers up because people see. Fortunately, I have a platform.
Hey, you want to
like you, or in all fairness, like a conversation like this, where I can talk about it and people understand. I mean, you fight for election integrity and you end up getting indicted because you're fighting for election integrity. And when the day comes that you can't fight for election integrity, you don't have a country anymore. So what happens is they went after their political opponent, me. Now Biden's, close to vegetable stage, in my opinion. Okay. I looked at him today on the beach and I said, why would anybody allow him? The guy could barely walk. Why would anybody allow him? Does he have a political advisor that thinks this looks good? He thinks this looks good because it looks so bad, and it's ridiculous. I mean, and he's been doing that for a long time. He can't lift the chair. The chair weighs about 3 ounces. It's meant for children and old people to lift, and he can't lift it. The whole thing is crazy.
Well, he's clearly. He's clearly like we just don't have a president. Right
you
now.
don't have a president, and she's going to be worse than him because she is a San Francisco liberal who destroyed San Francisco, and then as Attorney General, she destroyed California. You talk about location, and we're talking about the sun and the water and all. There's nothing better than California. She has destroyed that. She was the original DA. She was the original in San Francisco. She was the original Attorney General in California. What she has done to California is, well, you know better than I do. You just left California for a lot of those reasons. And what she's done with crime, with cashless bail, where you kill somebody. I mean, we have states there you kill somebody and they let you out right away. I mean, you don't have to even put up, and then they never find the people unless they kill again, and then they let them out again. Our country is becoming a very dangerous place. And she is a radical left San Francisco liberal. And now she's trying to protect. Now she's looking like she wants to be more Trump than Trump, if that's possible. I don't think it's possible, but she wants to be more Trump than Trump.
Yeah.
I want a wall.
I think that's,
she wants to release all the prisoners that are in detention. And some of these guys are really bad.
Right.
That just came out today. She doesn't want to build the wall, even though the walls work. Walls and wheels. In your business, everything you do is obsolete, almost, well, not the tunnels, but everything is obsolete. Even your rocket ships, they're like a month later, they're obsolete. You find a better way to. The only thing that's not obsolete is a wall and a wheel. And the wall, I built hundreds of miles of wall, and that's why we had such good numbers. I was going to add 200 miles. We bought it. We could have flipped it up in 3 weeks, and they sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. That meant, I said, wow, that means that they actually do want to have open borders. She wants to have open borders, and now she's going like she's tough on the border. It's such a lie.
Yeah, this is simply not
Yeah.
true. This is simply
No,
not
and
true.
everybody
Yeah,
knows
it's
it's
simply
not true.
true.
It's a disgrace that she
Yeah.
can say it.
No, I mean, obviously, what's happening sort of overnight is they're rewriting history and making Kamala sound like a moderate when in fact she is far left, like far left.
Worse than Bernie Sanders. She is considered more liberal by far than Bernie Sanders. She's a radical left lunatic. And if she's going to be our president, very quickly, you're not going to have a country anymore. And she'll go back to all of the things that she believes in. She believes in defunding the police. She believes in no fracking, zero. You don't. Now all of a sudden she's saying, no, I really want to see fracking. If they got in, the day she got in, she'll end fracking. And by the way, if people didn't think that, the lunatics that really believe in that, they won't vote for her. You know, like the Palestinians and Israel. She is so anti-Israel, and she's bad for both. Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him. You know, both sides. That was a hard thing to do. Unification.
Yeah, no. I mean, Netanyahu came to give a talk to a joint Senate and House sitting, and I was there, and Kamala stood him up. You know, what does that say?
I think it's highly disrespectful. And I say, if you're a Jewish person or if you believe in Israel, if you're a person that, you know, is a very pro-Israel, if you vote for her, it's worse than Biden. And Biden was bad. But if you vote for her, you ought to have your head examined. And you see tonight, I mean, as we're doing this, I'm seeing reports coming that they expect an attack tonight or tomorrow from hundreds and maybe thousands of rockets. You know, their Iron Dome, as they call it, as we all call it, but their shield that they build, that can be swamped. We'll use the term that's appropriate, swamped. But they swamp it by shooting enough missiles. You know this better than anybody. By shooting enough missiles, they can't defend themselves. You know, they just obliterate the whole place. And that's what some people think they're looking to do. And we have no leadership. There's no respect for the United States of America with these people. And I'm telling you, she'll be worse than him because she's a believer in being radical left, and he wasn't.
I think you're right. I mean, you really, it's important for the public that may be listening to this to look at Kamala's track record, you know, before the last month, and say, is that a track record you agree with? And I think if you're an independent moderate, you definitely would not agree with it, because it is her behavior has been far left, and we're seeing just an overnight propaganda attempt to rewrite history and make it sound like Kamala's moderate when she in fact is not moderate.
Well, her running mate approved, signed into legislation, tampons in boys' bathrooms. Okay, now that's all I have to hear. Tampons in boys' bathrooms, and that means she believes in that too. I mean, she picked this guy because he was the closest to her. A lot of people thought she'd pick sort of the opposite, but she picked an anti-Israel radical left person. But she is far worse, they say, than Bernie Sanders. If we have her as a president, if we have a Democrat at this moment as a president, I don't think our country can survive.
I think it's a massive. I think we're in massive trouble, frankly, with the Kamala administration, and that's my honest opinion. And I think really it's essential that you win for the good of the country for this election. And I mean, I'm just stating my opinion. Now, you know, you may have seen this, but I got a letter from the EU Commission, saying, you know, to not have disinformation on during this discussion that we're having, and you know, there's a lot of attempts to do censorship and to force censorship even on Americans from other countries. And you know, what do you think about that?
Well, I know the European Union very well. They take great advantage of the United States in trade, as you know. We, through a different forum, NATO, we protect them. And yet, if you build a car in the United States, you can't sell it in Europe. You just can't sell it. It's impossible. The same thing with our farmers. Our farmers find it very difficult to do business. You know, we have a deficit with them of $250 billion, which people don't know. It sounds so nice, the European Union, but let me tell you, they're not as tough as China, but they're bad. And I let them know it. And that's probably why they notified you. No, they don't treat our country well. We defend them, you know, with Ukraine. So we're in for 250 billion and they're in for about 71 billion, and they have the same size. It's, if you add up the European nations that, you know, in terms of an economy, it's about the same size, wouldn't you say, as us? And they're in, and they're in much greater risk. They're right there. We have an ocean separating us from, in this case, the enemy would be Russia. It used to be for the Soviet Union, but let's assume they're close enough. And what happens is they're in for 70-something million. I think even less than that, billion. And we're in for about 250 billion, and it could be a lot higher than that. And I say, why aren't you going to equalize? Why aren't they paying what we're paying? And they're in much more, you know, it's much more important for them because of the fact that, you know, they're right near there. I mean, they're all sort of in that location. We're not. But they should, and I did it with NATO. There were only 7 countries that were paid up in NATO out of 28 at the time. And the United States was the United States was subsidizing NATO, tremendously subsidizing NATO. And I said, I went in and I said, you got to pay up. If you don't pay up, we're not going to defend you any longer. I took a lot of heat, but you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in. And you know,
I think a lot of the public isn't aware of the fact that the United States pays a disproportionate share of the NATO expenses.
And then we get taken advantage of on trade. So think about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the point of NATO is defending Europe, and it's you know, it's like, then okay, well, why is the United States paying disproportionately more to defend Europe than Europe? That doesn't make sense. That's unfair, and that is an appropriate thing to address.
Well, you know, when you talk about cost cutting and savings and everything else, I mean, honestly, look, there's nobody that feels worse about the Ukraine situation than I do, because I know it would have never happened. I know Zelensky. He was very honorable to me, because when they went with the Russia hoax and they said I had a phone call with him, he said it was a perfect phone call. It was a great phone call. He could have grandstanded and, you know, said, oh, he was very threatening. He said, no, it was a very nice phone call. I called him up to congratulate him on his win, and you end up getting impeached because these people are lunatics. You know, I was talking about the difference from the people within and the enemies on the outside. In many cases, the people from within are more dangerous for our country than the Russias and the Chinas. If you have a smart president, you're not going to have a problem with them. You're going to do things.
Yeah.
Now, they've taken advantage of us incredibly, but you're going to do things with the right person.
Yeah, well, I think it's obvious that you're a believer and an advocate of free speech, because during your first term as president, you were attacked relentlessly every day, often very unfairly with false attacks, and you didn't try to shut down the media. You didn't try to inhibit their freedom of speech, and I think that says a lot.
Well, the good thing is that you and I have, and some people, very few, we can get the word out. Although sometimes it's hard because they don't want to print it, you know, like we're having a great conversation right now. Kamala wouldn't have this conversation. She can't, because she's not smart. You know, she's not a smart person, by the way. She can't have this conversation. And Biden, we don't even have to talk about it. I mean, he couldn't have this conversation. He would have given up on the first half of a question. He would have walked out. He would have said, where am I? Where am I going? So anyway, but no, he wouldn't have this.
That's true.
Not a lot of people would have this conversation, but, you know, we cover a lot of territory. But the beauty is that you know, we can have a conversation, and I'm able to get it out without, because I get treated unfairly.
This is a really big point. You can actually have a conversation with you.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
And you can't have a conversation with Biden or Kamala. It's like it's not possible.
That's
so this is like talking to an NPC.
No.
So it's just impossible.
Well, but think of it. We need a man or person who's unbelievably sharp in order to stop all the nuclear danger and all the dangers that I'm talking about. And I got along with all these. You know, I got along with Kim Jong-un. We had dinner. We had everything. And he really liked me, and I got along with him really well. By the way, he's He's the absolute boss over there. You know, a lot of people said, "Oh, do you think he really?"
That's for
Let me
sure.
tell you, I saw things that you don't want to know about. He is the boss. But we had a good relationship, and he doesn't like Biden. He considers him a stupid man. He said he's a stupid man. Well, at least he speaks his mind. But you know, in this country, you're not sort of allowed to say it. But I guess you are. You should be allowed to say it if it's true. But we need smart people, and we need people that have an ability to lead. And she doesn't have that ability. Can you imagine? Now, you know Chairman Xi very well. Can you imagine her and him negotiating or
No, it's
even
silly. It would be
standing
silly.
together? It is, the whole concept is ridiculous. She is terrible. She's terrible. But she's getting a free ride. I saw a picture of her on Time Magazine today. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing. And actually, she looked very much like our great First Lady, Melania. She didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman. So we'll leave it at that, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe like I think part of what people in America want to, people in America want to feel excited and inspired about the future. They want to feel like the future is going to be better than the past, and that America is going to do things that are greater than we've done in the past, reach new heights that make you proud to be an American, and excited about the future.
They want the American dream back. They want the American dream back. More important than anything else. It's like you don't have that today because the people, they've been just sucked. They see incompetent people running our. The Biden thing is very interesting. People just found him to be incompetent, and when I debated him, I was like, "Is this for real?" It was.
Yeah, it was just absurd. But I think there are like some grand projects that we could do. I mean, I think like we could build a base on the moon. We could send American astronauts to Mars. We could build high-speed connections that are more advanced than anything else in the world between our cities, so people have fast transport. It's possible to solve traffic with tunnels. We've we already made great progress in Vegas doing that, and and just do things that are exciting and inspiring and make the future feel like it's better than the past.
Well, I saw what you did in Vegas, and I'll tell you, it was amazing. I got to see. I took a big glimpse at it, and it's incredible. It's incredible, and you could do that all over. You could do that all over. It's deep.
Yeah,
you don't even need much structure. Assuming you're in the right area.
No, it's straightforward.
It's amazing.
So like I think we could do some things that like China's got incredible high-speed rail between its cities, but I think it's actually possible with tunnels if with deregulation, with an ability to actually where it's like legal to actually do the tunnels. Then you could have high-speed tunnels that are actually better than anything else in the world for high-speed transport between cities, and that would be something that Americans can say, "Wow, okay, we've got something that's cooler than anyone else in the world." That's the kind of thing that makes you proud to be an American.
And much safer than surface trains, where there is a danger there. With crazy people, it's much safer, much better. And it's sad because I've seen some of the greatest trains. I find it fascinating, and I've seen the systems and how they work, and the bullet trains they call them, I guess, and they go unbelievably fast, unbelievably comfortable, with no problems. And we don't have anything like that in this country, not even close. And it doesn't make sense that we don't. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I think also like there's I'm kind of hopping on the excess regulation, but I think something that I think people can generally understand is that what happens with laws and regulations is that there's more and more of them every year, and unless there's a process to clean them up, eventually everything becomes illegal, and that actually it slows down the development of new technologies. I mean, if you take sort of like I think there's room for some reform at the FDA for improving the speed with which we approve drugs that could help save lives and improve people's lives. And
I worked very hard on that. We got that down to the lowest number ever, and we got therapeutics approved in the FDA that people can't even believe the speed. But I took them on. I don't think they like me too much, but I got things approved in the FDA at numbers that they wouldn't believe. And You know, it's a very bureaucratic group. Actually, it's a fine group of people in many cases. I got to know a lot of them, but I was pushing them really hard for Regeneron, for so many different things that were really pretty amazing. But the FDA takes too long. It's 12 years to get a product approved. I got it down to 4, and I got some things done very quickly. But it's really something that is going to have to be worked on because it takes too long. Just takes too long.
Yeah, it just takes too long, and it's you end up in the same with the approval, but it's just it takes years instead of something that I think could potentially take months, and that improves people's lives. I think I just wanted to hop on this point that like there has to be an active process for reducing rules and regulations, because otherwise they just keep building up every year, and you get like hardening of the arteries, and eventually everything's illegal or takes forever, and then we just ossify as a society. We can't make any progress, and it's a really big deal.
Well, Elon, just getting back to the FDA for 1 second, I got something done called Right to Try. This is where you can go in, and if you're terminally ill, you can use a space age, medicine or whatever it may be. We have the best doctors, the best labs in the world. We really do. But people would go to other countries because you couldn't use the product, even if they thought it worked, because it's going through the FDA. I got it approved where you can, you basically, look, nobody wanted, the doctors didn't want it because of the liability. The country didn't want it, our country, because they didn't want to get sued. These are people terminally ill. The insurance companies didn't want it, and the pharmaceutical companies, nobody wanted it. I got everybody into a room, and we came up with an agreement that you won't get sued. And also, they didn't want it on their record. If somebody's terminally ill and they die after taking a drug, they didn't want that on their record. So we set a separate list. If somebody was, so it wouldn't count as a negative. Okay. And as you know, we got it done. We have saved Right to Try. They've been trying to get this done for 58 years. And it sounds simple, but it wasn't, because the insurance companies, nobody wanted it, but we got it done. Somebody you sign a document that you're not going to sue the insurance companies, the country, you're not going to sue anybody. And we got it done, and we're saving tens of thousands of lives. Right to Try. Hopefully you never need it, but if you do, you don't have to travel to Asia. People, if they had money, they go to Asia, they go to Europe. If they don't have money, they go home and die. That's what happened. They'd go home and die.
Well, I mean, and actually, to give Europe some props here, it's like if a drug is approved in Europe, which has a crazy amount of regulations, it should obviously be approved in the U.S. I mean, they get more regulations than we do. So why would a drug be approved in Europe and not in the U.S.? That's crazy.
Well, we did it. We did something that really, they've been trying to do it for 50 years, and they just couldn't get it done, and I got it done. And it's really something. But you're right. Some people go to Europe because a drug isn't approved here, but it's approved in Europe, and it's a drug that, generally speaking, would work. It's pretty crazy.
Absolutely,
you're right.
And I think so long as people are properly informed of the pros and cons, and like these are the risks, this is the risk, and like you make your own decision. That makes sense.
Well, I think just in sort of closing up, and by the way, I'm looking at the numbers. You got a lot of people listening. I hope you don't get nervous, because you got a lot of people listening to you right now, like 60 million or something. What is that number? It's crazy. It's amazing how you can see that right away. How many? What is the number? Wow. What is it?
Well,
wow.
I think in terms of people,
that's bigger than you said. You said 25, and you're much more than double that number, 25 million. I think you're going to be 60 or 70. And I guess over a period of time, hey, I congratulate you. Do I get paid for this or not?
Well, I think actually in terms of the number of people that will hear this conversation over the next few days to weeks, it's going to be hundreds.
That's what they say. Yeah, that's good. Well, look, it's an honor. I just asked this: are you better off now, or were you better off when I was president? Nobody's better off now. People, we put out polls on that, and nobody's better off now. Inflation has killed it, and they also feel very unsafe. You look at what's going on with a lot of different things. You look at the riots we had at the colleges over. I mean, it's ridiculous, but all of the riots, they just feel unsafe. And now they really feel unsafe because you have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. Maybe I'll call it Kamala migrant crime. But
you know, I mean, with all these things, I always try to get to the ground truth by just asking people. And, you know, my mom lives in New York, and I was like, you know, Mom, you know, do you know, have you, any of your friends, you know, been attacked or assaulted? And she said, yeah, 3 of her friends in 3 separate incidents were assaulted just in recent months, just walking around the streets of New York. And I said, well, what happened to the people that assaulted them? Oh, nothing. They got away. Like, and they just know
they always get away.
Nothing's gonna, and they don't even bother reporting it because they know that they're not going to, you know, people are not going to get prosecuted. They just let, you know, violent criminals out in New York.
The only one that gets prosecuted is Donald Trump. They prosecute Trump.
Yeah, I mean, it's just obviously messed up.
Oh, it's terrible.
If violent criminals are being getting off scot-free, and meanwhile the you know, New York spending massive resources prosecuting you. And it's like, what's this, you know, and I think the sort of sensible public looks at this and says, what the heck's going on here? This is obviously abuse of the legal system. You know, the legal system is supposed to be protecting the public from violent criminals, and it should be obviously allowing the public to make their own decision about who should be president, as opposed to, you know, some you know, legal case.
Once they start this precedent, because this can go on with the next one. I mean, this is a very bad precedent, what they're doing in terms of, you know, going after their political opponent. And that's all it is. It's going after their political opponent. And then you get a judge who's, you know, a strong Democrat. And I'm being nice when I say that, in many cases, crooked as hell. But you get a judge and you go into an area where a Republican gets 3 or 4% of the vote. And, you know, you'll have a jury pool with people that hate Republicans or hate. It could also be the other way, though, because it could start the other way in areas where they hate Democrats. And you get into a Pandora's box. It's a very dangerous thing for this country, and a very dangerous thing even for the state. New York City is losing. New York City and state lose a lot of business over what they did to me, because these people say, we don't want that to happen to us. That's no justice system. You have an unfair system of justice, and it's costing New York State a tremendous amount of money. People are leaving and companies are leaving, and they won't come back. So, you know, all of that stuff is important. But the economy now is the big thing, and we can turn that economy up so fast, and people are going to be back again. We're going to get rid of inflation.
I think there's a lot of opportunity.
Right.
Absolutely. So,
and I just want to, I want to congratulate you. You've done an amazing job. You have definitely got a fertile mind. You know, we can talk, you and I can talk about rockets.
It's kind of you to say thank you.
Tunnels. We can talk about tunnels and rockets and electric cars, so many things. And now you're into the AI, and that's going to be another beauty, I'll say. So it's an amazing thing you've done, Elon. It's an amazing thing, and I congratulate you.
I mean, thank you. And well, I mean, I just to say here, you know, here's to an exciting, inspiring future that people can look forward to and be optimistic and excited about what happens next. And that's the kind of future that I think you will bring as president, and that's why I endorse you.
Well, I appreciate that. That endorsement meant a lot to me. Not all endorsements mean that much, to be honest. Your endorsement meant a lot. And, you know, we have a phrase, make America great again. It's pretty simple, but it really says that we want to make America great again. And we can do it. We can do it now. But if we were going to suffer another 4 years like we suffered for the last 4 years, I'm not sure the country can ever come back. That's how bad it is. It's so bad. We have to do a lot of things.
I think that's a very real risk.
Yeah, it's a big risk.
It's a very real risk.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, I'd just like to note to people listening, like I've not been very political before. And if you look at my record, I've actually been, I'm not like, sometimes they try to paint me as like a far right guy, which is absurd, because I'm like making electric vehicles and, you know, solar and batteries, helping them with the environment. And I actually, you know, I supported Obama. I stood in line for 6 hours to shake Obama's hand when he was running for president. And, you know, so it's not like I'm like some sort of dyed-in-the-wool long-term Republican. I'd call myself, you know, historically a moderate Democrat, but now I feel like we're really at a critical juncture for the country, and you know, I think a lot of people thought, you know, the Biden administration would be a moderate administration, but it's not, and obviously, that we were just going to see an even further left administration with Kamala. That's my honest opinion. I mean, her dad is literally. I mean, she was brought up as an actual. Her dad is a Marxist economist. You can Google it. I mean, it's not a. We're not making this up. That's how she was brought up. So, and we want to have a future that is prosperous. And I think we're just at this critical juncture. And I think this is a case of the America is going to at a fork in the road, and and I think it will take the path to, like, you are the path to prosperity, and I think Kamala is the opposite. Then that's my honest opinion. I'm gonna get attacked like crazy, and I've also experienced quite a bit of lawfare myself, but I'm just trying to tell people my honest opinion, and I haven't been really active in politics before. And I'm just trying to point out that my track record historically has been moderate, if not moderate, slightly left. And so this is to people out there who are in the moderate camp to say, I think you should support Donald Trump for president. And I think it's actually a very important junction in the road, and we're in deep trouble if it goes the other way.
Well, I want to thank you. And, I actually always did think of you as somewhat left. I must say that. So it's even more of an honor to have your endorsement. I know how strong you feel about it. But, when you think of her, San Francisco, 15 years ago, I had a great friend, Bob Tish. He said it's the greatest city in America. And now it's almost not livable there. And California, likewise. And she was involved in the destruction of San Francisco and the destruction of California. And she will be involved in the destruction of our country if people are so unwise as to elect her. And I hope that doesn't happen. And I hope the elections are going to be run honestly. And we're going to turn this country around. We're going to do things and we can do it fairly quickly. And we have to get rid of the criminals that have been, given to us by other countries as they laugh. They laugh at us. They think we're stupid to accept these people. These are radical, stone cold killers in many cases and terrorists. And they're in our country by the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And we have to take them out.
Yeah. I mean, if I could summarize it, perhaps, I think these are issues that I think most people in America would agree with, which is that we want safe and clean cities. We want secure borders. We want sensible government spending. We want to restore both the perception and reality of respect in the judicial system. Just stop the lawfare, and I think that's like. And how are those even right-wing positions? I think those are that's just common sense, and that's. I mean, would you agree with that?
100%. I don't understand. The whole. They call it progressive. They don't like the word liberal anymore, but call it liberal or progressive. I don't understand how somebody could say that it's okay for them to empty prisons into our country. And again, I told you their crime rates all over the world are going way down, which makes sense. In fact, the next time what we'll do is if something happens with this election, which would be a horror show, we'll meet the next time in Venezuela because it'll be a far safer place to meet than our country. Okay, so you and I will go and we'll have a meeting and dinner in Venezuela because that's what's happening. Their crime rates coming down and our crime rates going through the roof. And it's so simple. And you haven't seen anything yet because these people have come into our country and they're just getting acclimated. And they don't know about being politically correct law enforcement or lack of law enforcement. And our police, I have to just end with this. We have great police. We have great law enforcement, but they're not allowed to do their job. They have to be able to do their job without being destroyed.
Well, absolutely. And it's obviously demoralizing if you're a police officer risking your life to arrest violent criminals who could kill you and do kill you sometimes, and then you arrest the violent criminal, and then the DA doesn't prosecute and that's let the guy out. Well, then why should a police officer risk their life to arrest a violent felon?
Well, even worse, Elon,
nothing's going to happen.
Even worse, they prosecute the police officer. They go after it and they prosecute the police officer and they take away his pension. They take away his job. He loses his family. He loses his house.
Well, I thought it was very telling, like incredibly telling, that when there was that case where sort of a gang of thugs beat up police officers. I think it was in Times Square in New York, and then nothing happened to those guys. They were let out, zero bail, and I think a bunch of them were given free tickets to California. Well, what is I mean, that is a gross indignity against the United States, and that's how, I mean, this is insane. Like, have we lost all pride? How can such a thing be allowed to occur?
I've never seen anything. We see where they get shot. It's a very dangerous profession, but it's something they're very proud of, and they want to be able to do their job. But I've seen them get shot. I've seen a lot of things. But I've never seen where these guys are standing in the middle of a big street, everybody watching them, and they're literally boxing, like punching, stand-up fighting a police officer. There were two of them, and you had about six of these guys, and they're punching the hell out of them. And in their own country, they would be dead if they did that. They'd be shot.
Yes.
They would be shot instantly. And, they come from these countries, and it's taking them a while to realize that we don't do that in this country. But in their own country, if they stood on a street and had a fight with a police officer, they would be shot. There's no political correctness. And it's such a sad, it's such a sad thing to see. And that's the reason you have crime, by the way, because we don't do anything about it.
Yeah, we just cannot have a situation where our police officers are beaten up on camera by a gang of illegal immigrants, and then nothing happens to the guys that beat up the cops. I mean, and they're let out. This is unacceptable.
Well, we're going to change it, and we're going to get them out of the country. When I first got involved, they said you couldn't get them back to these countries. You couldn't take them back. In the case of Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, some others, you couldn't get them back. And I said, really? Oh, you can't get them back? Because under Obama, he couldn't get them back. They'd fly them in, and they'd put planes on the runways in these countries so you couldn't land a plane. They'd bring them back. And the generals told me, sir, we can't bring them back. The countries won't accept MS-13 gang members. They won't accept them. And I said, really, how much do we pay these various countries in terms of economic aid, which is also somewhat ridiculous? And the answer was $750 million. I said, good. Tell them they're in default. They're delinquent. We're not paying them anymore because they won't accept it. And you know what happened? They all called me, every one of them. They said, we would be honored to take them back, sir. We would be honored. It was so easy. But it's one of those things. And we got it back. We took in so many, the MS-13 is probably the worst gangs in the world. They're the most vicious, violent. We took them out of here by the thousands and got them out of here. And their countries took them back. And because I said, you're not getting any more economic aid. And once I said that, they were nice. They wouldn't take them back for Obama. They wouldn't take them back for anybody. And now we have a problem because we have this guy, and they don't take him back anymore with Biden because they don't respect him.
It's just gotta be done. We just can't have whether they're citizens or not citizens. We can't have, because they won't prosecute citizens either, not just illegals. So if it's, you can't have violent, repeat violent offenders that are not that don't get incarcerated.
That's right.
Because they will obviously, by definition, continue to hurt people. And I think where part of this comes from is that there's and I do sort of consider myself liberal in some ways. I mean, it's just that you want to have empathy for people. Obviously, you want to have empathy for people. I totally agree with that. You want to have empathy, but you also have to have empathy for the victims of the criminals. And if you just have empathy for the criminals, it's actually shallow empathy. It's not real. You're not thinking. You have one layer deep empathy. You got to say, like, what if you don't incarcerate this person? Who are they going to hurt? Who are they might kill someone. They might rape someone. If you don't incarcerate them, you have to have empathy for the victims. And there's a lack of empathy for the victims of the criminals, and too much empathy for the criminals. It doesn't make sense. That's why you want to have deep empathy for society as a whole,
like
not
politicians,
shallow empathy for criminals.
Right. And we have to give our police officers the dignity and the respect that they deserve. And we have to let them do their job. They can do a great job, but we have to let them do their job. And if we don't do that, it's going to all disappear. There's never been a society like this where you're allowed to do anything you want and nothing happens. And I'm talking about violent crime. And it's going to get more violent because these are really, really violent people. And we're going to get them out of our country, and we're going to get them back to where, because they were sent here by the presidents and by the various people that run those countries. And I know every one of those guys. And they're smart people, and they're streetwise people. And they really think that the USA is stupid. They think we're run by stupid people, and they happen to be right. But when I was there, we had no problem. We got them out. We took out thousands of MS-13 gang members. We brought them back. And now, again, it's the same old story. We don't do it. And they actually gave them a big increase in aid. They raised it up to billions of dollars, and they get nothing for it. So
You said that it was, and you're just going to pretend that it wasn't over and over again.
Trump, and
It's
we're going to get
fucked
this
up,
country.
man. And you're not
And I didn't need this. I'm like, I didn't need this. I had a very nice life. I didn't need to go through court systems and go through all the other stuff and run at the same time. I have to run. I have to go through fake trials with, in some cases, corrupt judges, totally corrupt judges.
I'm here to tell you right
I didn't
now.
need it. I had a nice life.
don't care.
I have great
We don't
locations. I
care.
have beautiful oceans that I have places. But I felt it was important. And if I had to do it over again, you probably think I'm crazy for doing it, actually. But if I had to do it over again, I would have done it over again, because this is so much more important than me or my life.
I'm here
we're going
to
to
tell you
save
right
this country.
now.
This country is going
don't
down.
care.
And these people are bad people that we're running against, and they're liars. They make statements. They do things that are so bad. They say they're going to make a strong border. They say they've been great on the border, and they've been the worst in history. They say they're going to stop crime.
Like, the facts speak for themselves.
It's so incredible.
Speak for themselves. Like it's got to the point where people just don't even bother reporting crime.
You have an unnatural allegiance to losers.
That's what I hear anecdotally from people all the time. So it's just my values. I'm just saying to people out there, like the things I think are important for the future is, like, we've got to have safe cities.
I'm here to tell you right
secure
now.
borders. We've got to have sensible spending.
Let me tell you,
and we've got to have deregulation, and so we can have a prosperous future. And then we want to have some exciting, sort of moonshot projects that people can get fired up about. And that's the future I'm looking for. And I'm pro-environment, but I'm not against.
You said what?
I'm not like, I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry, because they're keeping civilization going right now. And but I do think we want to move, a reasonable speed towards a sustainable energy economy. Those are my values.
Who is we?
And I think, and so I mean that's why I'm supporting you for president.
Well, I appreciate it. We're going to give incentive to companies to come into our country, not to leave our country. We're going to be giving tremendous incentives. We want companies to build here, not to build in other locations. And we want to create jobs. And again, it's about the American dream. You don't hear about the American dream anymore.
What is it, though? I don't see it anywhere. What is it?
But you don't hear about the American dream anymore. And
What is it?
People, they need that incentive to go out and do it. And they're going to love their lives. I mean, they're going to look forward to getting up in the morning and going to a job that they love, not a job that they can't stand, or not any job at all where they have no money, where they literally have no money, and then they end up with violence and lots of other problems. No, we're going to do some great things. And I learned a lot in the first. We had a great economy and all of that.
Join this MAGA train, baby.
We did so much, but I also learned the best people. I learned the good people, the smart people, the dumb people, the people that can do things. The people you learn. When I first came here, I tell people I was in Washington. I was in 17 times. I never stayed over. And you don't know people. You rely on other people to give you names, and then you realize the people you relied on weren't so good. Now, we had great people, but we also had some where I wouldn't have, used them had I known. Now I know everybody, and I think we're going to really turn things around fast. We have no choice, otherwise we're not going to have a country. And I really appreciate this. To me, it's been a lot of fun being with you. You're an amazing guy. You've done an incredible job.
Are your feelings hurt?
Inspiration to people.
Down.
A great inspiration.
Girl, baby girl.
I hope you keep going and just continue to do well. And we're going to have a big election coming up. And I think November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country. I think that election will be the most important election, and I think it'll end up being maybe the most important day in the history of our country. Because if we don't win, I just feel so sorry for everybody.
No, I think we're at a fork in the road of destiny of civilization, and I think we need to take the right path, and I think you're the right path. So I think that's what it comes down to.
Thank you very much, Elon. It's a great honor, and we'll do it again sometime. And it's been really fun, and I hope you got a lot of viewers. I hear you got a lot, but I hope you got a lot. I know you got a lot of them. So I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Elon. Thank you very much. Bye.
One, two, three. Ah, shit.
You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass.
When he loses on November 5th, because he ain't out here talking about policy, he out here looking for a soundbite, I'm going to play this clip religiously.
It was hard work, and I worked hard. My ass bleeds for you.
To hell with him and to hell with MAGA. To hell with the white vote. Y'all sat up here for over an hour and a half and heard nothing. I hate Command with a passion. At least her dumbass crowd is talking policy. As bad as it is. At least they're saying something. To hell with MAGA. MAGA. This is why I've been telling y'all for months. Sell me your candidate. You'd have figured tonight, him sitting up there in front of Elon, he'd sell his platform. He didn't sell shit. MAGA, this is what y'all are out here defending. What you just heard is what you think we're going to win with. And when I say we, I'm talking about the country. No wonder that joke, Nick Fuentes, is about to screw with you less than 90 days towards an election. You deserve everything you get. He really sat on a space that glitched the first time, got on it back again, and you'd have figured he had a little bit of lull. Let me go in there and talk some real policy. I ain't hear nothing. The same thing I done told y'all Saturday that he's talking about. Drill, baby, drill. Who cares? Even he sat up there. MAGA, you idiots, come here. Remember how y'all told me that drilling is going to help everybody? Even he just admitted in this space, he don't even know. He's sitting on 9 figures worth of oil, but he don't know how he gonna sell it. He over here talking about some AI and electric grids. Now all of a sudden electricity is a goal of yours. But yet a year ago you were lambasting it because they were sitting there talking about EV vehicles. And y'all are going for this. Oh, Now he wants to get rid of folk. All of a sudden, he want to get rid of folk. They called Obama the deporter in chief. Now you want to get rid of folk. And y'all really sat up there and listened to this, and y'all about to go get this man more money. He sat up there and talked about inflation and didn't give one deterrent that is going to help inflation. You sat there and knobbed off Argentina. Let me help you, Trump, since you didn't want to tell the people in the room how he did it. He devalued the dollar. Are you ready to do that? Are you going to be the president to devalue the dollar? Are you going to be the president that's going to raise taxes on a devalued dollar? Are you ready for that? Are you going to do that? By the way, their inflation on the world stage is still near 300%. So it's not as lucrative as you wanted to sit up there and make it believe. With all that hype Malay came in there with, as soon as they saw them numbers, they said, he's just another one. They're doing better, but it ain't what you and Elon sat up there and tried to foist off on people, because you know them idiots in it ain't gonna research it. But this is what they expect us in less than 90 days to go vote for. There's my candidate. Everybody's going to learn November 5th. Don't worry, family. By tomorrow morning, you're going to see a whole lot of splaining. Whole lot. Both sides, they're going to be splaining. We're going to explain on November 5th. Hopefully you learned something. If you did, I've done my job. If not, I'll try to be better next time. MAGA, to hell with you. Donald Trump, to hell with you. JD Vance, to hell with you. Kamala Harris, to hell with you. Tim Walz, to hell with you. Everybody running on that presidential ticket, trying to be president, to hell with you. Y'all don't have this nation's interest in mind. You want to be famous. To hell with you. I don't care. I'm going to protect my family, something that you cocksuckers ain't doing. I'm going to protect my interests, something you jackasses aren't doing. You want to sell out to other countries? Be my guest. I'm not going to help you aid in doing it. Minnesota, you're on the clock tomorrow. Ilhan Omar's primary is up. You're on the clock. Show me something. Or you're going to let the Somalis dictate what goes on in that state some more. Show me something. I'm leaving. I'm sorry I subjected y'all to that nonsense. I hope they both lose so we can all win.
Wait around. Yep. Marc, yeet and get out.
Time's up. But did we have a good time here? Hello?
At the end of the day gotta end.
That's it.